What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Superior Podcast. I'm here with Angus today and a man that a lot of you will know, Mr. Stephen Hobbs, more commonly known as Hobbsy from Cliffhanger 4x4 event. So, Hobbsy, thanks for coming out, mate. It's good to see you again.
Yeah.
2025, it's all coming to an end.
It's our 20th year of racing, Cliffhanger.
Yeah. So, yeah, it didn't start in Cobar, did it? It wasn't always run out of Cobar. Back in 2005 when it started, it was White Cliffs?
Yes, White Cliffs.
Yep.
And we were backed by Four-Wheel Drive Monthly magazine, as they were known then, which is now called Four-Wheel Drive Action.
Yep.
And they said, let's call it the Cliffhanger because we're at White Cliffs.
White Cliffs, right. Yep.
And that's how it started. So we were 5 years out at White Cliffs.
Yeah, wow.
And had a lot of fun. We started with 7 cars at our first event.
Yeah, I was checking the entrance list and like the results before we came up here to start filming, and like going back to 2005, it's funny to see some of the names that competed then. Their kids are competing now. Some of them are still competing. Like it's really awesome to see that history there.
I've heard lots of good things about the years at White Cliffs. Like the stories that come out of there are really, really entertaining when you get a hold of the people that were there, like Laurie and that. It sounded like a good time. I wish we could have raced there then. But
it's a fantastic property, large property, but a lot of flat country as well. And it was very dusty and very dusty, sort of like wasteland. Yeah. It was quite remote. It was 0 phone range.
Yeah, it is. It's way out compared to where Cobar is.
Yeah. See, at Mount Gap Station where we are, we're a 90-minute drive northwest of Cobar. Yep. And for those that don't know, Cobar is like plumb in the middle of New South Wales.
It's
pretty much the dead centre.
It is. But it's right on the edge of the farming belt. Yep. If you go towards Sydney or towards Melbourne, you've got paddocks with fences.
Yes. Yep.
You go northwest of Cobar and there's no more fences. There's no more bitumen. One property blends into the next, and the road in. It takes 45 minutes to drive that bit of road.
Yeah.
And you're pretty much on the same property the whole way.
It's awesome when you get out there.
Bit longer with a car trailer in tow.
But
she's a wild drive.
But out at White Cliffs there was no phone range. We would have repeaters on the tops of a nearby hill with a directional mobile phone antenna. So it's it looks like a fishbone.
Yeah, right.
And then we would try and repeat that back down to camp, and we'd have another fishbone antenna at camp pointing back to that one.
Yeah,
right. And we could get within camp, we could get about 1 bar.
Wow.
And that was just enough for us to be able to have a little bit of communication. But we couldn't share it with people because there wasn't enough of it.
Oh, exactly.
And we even had repeaters with UHF, so we'd set up a repeater on one of the hills, like just like they have in the high country.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's unreal.
Yeah. So, but with Mount Gap at Cobar, there's a little bit more phone range there.
Yep.
But you have to, you just have to drive up a hill to pick up a bit of next G.
Yeah.
But now with Starlink, that's a game changer.
Big time.
Huge, massive help for anyone just owning a remote property. Being out there is a massive game changer for them as well.
Yeah.
We've used the Starlink just camping, like go to Fraser Island, and it's just there. Like a lot of guys I camp with run businesses. We're away for like 2 weeks a year, so I've just got to check an email. So that ability to do that, it would make a huge change to the way you run the event and
everything.
Broadcast it.
We want to be able to broadcast. We weren't able to do feeds in the past. Even with 1 bar, you can't do a feed with 1 bar.
No, you can barely upload a video later on, sort of thing.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So, so we weren't able to do that. So, 2 Cliffhangers ago, so 2021, I had satellite internet at camp.
Yep.
But that was old school satellite internet.
Yeah.
Hellishly expensive.
Yeah.
But it's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And but we had a live feed at presentation. But we're able to do that with with satellite internet. And then last year we had Starlink. Last year, 2023, we had Starlink. But in 2023, all the Starlink modules, the kits, they were still $1,200 to buy.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
It was affordable, but only to select people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were lucky that we made sure there was one at my base station, and then one at the office. And then we were fortunate to have 2 or 3 marshals had Starlink that were able to get a couple of grabs during the day.
Yep.
Now we've got Starlink Mini, and it's very affordable.
Yeah.
And for about $500, people are starting to run around it on their cars. And I think every third car that comes is going to have Starlink.
Yeah.
And from a safety perspective, having marshals scattered with a Starlink, hand in hand with RallySafe. I mean, we're fairly limited in what we could broadcast back with RallySafe. It's like, we're stopped. Are you okay? Yes. Or no, in a terrible situation.
No answers.
At least now you can get a bit more information out. And like you said, it wouldn't be a shock to see a bunch of GQs, GUs, Ultra 4s out in the bush with a Starlink strapped somewhere in them.
Yeah.
So that if something does go pear-shaped.
Well, now we can make phone calls.
Yeah.
And Wi-Fi calling. So we can, I'll make sure that each of my marshal groups has a Starlink.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that all my social media influencers and all the people that are, capturing data and broadcasting and everything, they're all going to have their own Starlinks.
Yeah.
My Zebra cars, both of them are going to have Starlinks, so it doesn't matter which one. I got 2. I got 2 set-up vehicles I run around in.
I was going to say the Zebras are still running.
They better be. They haven't been touched for 18 months. But there's the patrol Zebra. It's it once had a 6-inch lift that's totally sagged, but it out flexes just about all the race trucks and can go places that race trucks don't go.
Well, you set all your courses with that, don't you?
Yeah.
So I remember every year leading up, or in the months leading up to the event, you're getting excited, but seeing photos of you guys standing on the roof of the Zebra. Here's your winch wall, and you look at it, you're like, it's too tall.
Yeah, yep. So, and it's on the 37-inch tires, except you know what? I break it at times, and so I've got to have my standby Zebra. So I've got the troop carrier, which is actually what I use for setting up a lot of the navigation stages, because within the troop carrier, I've got a lot of gear, and I can take a lot of bollards and pickets and bunting and all that sort of stuff.
You kind of can't beat, as much as I'm a Nissan guy, you kind of can't beat a 75 series Troopy or 75 series for reliability. Keep going.
Well, over the years, we've broken it piece by piece, and so it's now got welded diffs.
Perfect.
So the ARB lockers. And it's surprisingly capable.
It's still on leaf springs.
It'd be terrible on the bitumen, but it's actually in the bush. It's actually pretty, the places it goes.
Yeah.
And it just chugs and bounces and gets up a lot of places. And so so when by the way, it's also got the pie warmer in it.
So it's the travel buddy, can't go wrong.
It's got the fridge and the travel buddy, so it is the car of choice.
So that's where definitely. So you keep your Chico rolls and perfect.
Yeah. So, but anyway, they're both going to have Starlink. So when I'm out, I can be. Anyone can call me on the telephone, or I can call anyone on the telephone. And I can stay in touch with the medics and all those sorts of things because that's important.
Hugely important.
And, every year we get an ambulance involved. We go into every year and we warn everyone that it's a dangerous sport. And every year someone gets carted off to hospital in an ambulance. We try our best to make it all avoidable. But there's always something that happens. The real risks are not racing accidents, it's around camp. People burning themselves or heart attacks and these sorts of things.
I was going to say, normally when I've seen competitors some have taken themselves to Cobart Hospital and come back. I remember Phil from the Full Drive Shed taking a trip in 2021. But it's usually precautionary. We've been lucky with the safety aspect, and that comes down to your rulings on head restraints and the harnesses and that. So, but it is nice to have the ambos there or everyone on site, because it gives you a bit of peace of mind when you sit in that car and you're ninth in the queue strapping in for a 100k stage and you don't know how long you're going to be in the car or the terrain you're going to come across. You do get nervous, but as a competitor, okay, Hobbsy's organised this well. I feel pretty good about my chances of coming out the other end of this. No matter what happens, let's do it. You can tighten down and go. So it's a big comfort.
We've got normally when we've only got 40 or 50 teams, we have a medic crew, and there's paramedics, and these are qualified people, capable, almost not quite doctors. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
So they're allowed to give pain meds and all those sorts of stuff and call emergency action shots. We've got a few more people coming to the next one. We'll get to that later, I guess.
Yep.
But we've actually got more crews coming.
Oh, awesome.
So,
Awesome, yeah. So it's going to be very
So-
well looked after from that aspect, which is,
Yeah.
I think every competitor, even like you said, competitors, like the year I came down, 2019, I think one of the marshals ended up getting taken. I think they ended up having to take him to Dubbo for a broken leg. A
Yeah.
rock fell on him as a car drove over a rock.
That
That's right.
stage.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Roland.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. So-
he was, you know what, most unfortunate situation,
Oh.
walking around in amongst loose boulders,
Yep.
Just
and of course slips and boulder moves and squashes his leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's just,
not. He wasn't in a car.
We're not
Yeah,
talking
he was just-
harnesses and helmets there. We're talking a marshal falling over in the rocks.
Poor bugger. Yeah, I felt that was a gnarly spot.
Yeah.
and that is like, it's one of the most remote events out there.
Yeah.
Like it's,
We even had someone go to hospital because he choked on his meat
oh God.
at round
Good
camp.
lord.
Yeah, yeah. Like
So he
it's-
couldn't clear his throat.
Yeah, wow.
You know,
yeah, that's it.
You've got to have the guys have got to be on standby
Yeah,
for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. There's so much, especially like coming into this year again, where there's so many people coming. There's so much extra risk outside of the racing that can just be an unfortunate incident that happens that has nothing to do with a car doing 100k an hour.
We try and make it as safe as we possibly can, and
Definitely.
we have rules, and some people think it's silly to have some of these rules, but they're there for a reason.
Yeah,
like
not dumb.
we make it so that the buttons on the winch on the bull bar, you know, the in and out for the winch on the bull bar,
The red one.
that at camp they're inactive,
yeah,
so that we can't have some of the kids coming up and say, "What happens if I press this?"
Yeah.
And you know,
especially
next thing you
behind
know,
now.
I've got the kid's hands gone into a winch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twin
And
motor.
you know, and that's why we have the rule that says, you know, these buttons can only be activated when the engine's running or
Yeah.
what have
Yeah.
you. You know what I mean? Or
It took Mick and I a few days in the first year we did it to work out that, yeah, you'd pull up somewhere and he'd say, "Where are we going?" I'd say the GPS point is there, on top of that little plateau there, this ridge, this vertical face in front of you, and we'd be like, not panicked, but like, well, how are you going to get up there? But you just step back, and we realised that you put things in places that at first visual, you're like, that's not going to be safe to get up to. There's always a safe route. And we had a night stage where we were trying to get up the top of a ridge, and we had actually Fingy to the right of us doing the same thing. And I looked over, and because I'm the wrong side of the car, and I looked at Mick and I looked at Fingy and I said, "What are we doing? We're like 150 metres up. Can we move? This is silly." And Mick's like, "Righto," reverse back, drove up. We all got up okay, but you've just got to, as a competitor, make those assessments, but know that you guys have set it up in a way that we don't have to be in dumb places.
Well,
that's on us.
most of the time, I've got the troop carrier there.
Exactly. That's always rings in my mind. If the zebras have got there, we can get there.
yeah, this
Yeah.
800 horsepower car and 40s
Twin
can
lock
get
40s,
there.
we can get there. Yeah.
That's right. But it's not uncommon for me to look at the land and I'll see that it is a ridge and a ridge and a ridge and a ridge.
Yeah.
And I'll drive down the ridge, and it's like gorges in between.
Yeah.
And I'll drive down the ridge, I'll drop a waypoint, and then I'll drive back up, and then I'll go down the next ridge, and I'll drop the next waypoint,
Yes.
and I'll drive back up, and then I'll go down the next ridge and drop a waypoint, and then you on your GPS, you go, "Oh, these are in a line, bang,
Yeah.
bang, bang," and of course, Fingy, Mick,
It's so funny you mentioned that, because we did that in 2021. That 100k stage, there were a couple in a line, and I looked at it and I said to Mick, "The quickest way is going to be up and over the ridges." He said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Definitely. By the time we deviate down, it's not going to be any faster. Let's just do it." And it was up, and it's rough and rough and rough, and you get to the bottom and it's smooth, and you go, and then it's rough up. You know, you didn't stitch us up. I just flat out refused to make Mick deviate down to where we could see cars driving, but the up and down thing just seemed counterproductive at the time. But yeah, you set it up well.
Well, I bring a lot of that into it, and a lot of the time we've got to factor in where are other stages running at the same time. I've got to keep you away from that, and I can't have it so that I think I'll just beeline across there, and of course go straight over the path of another stage.
Yeah.
And we don't want you to find something that you're going to do in 2 days' time.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, we want to keep that as a surprise too.
It does help. you know.
Yep. And then there's other stages like the Rampage stage where, you know, we'll do 300 kilometres in a given day, and you're going to drive the whole property.
Yeah.
You know, so I've got to try and keep some of that fresh too. So
Yeah, those long days are mentally tough.
we've got that. That's coming back.
That's good.
Yeah.
The 2021, you had the Yukon remote pit, And I thought, oh, what a cool addition. We got a pit, we can pull up, and we pulled up twice in that stage. I think we had to, but we pulled up, and the first time we pulled up, Mick and I stayed in the car. Second time we pulled up, Mick goes, I'm hopping out. I said, I'm not.
Yeah.
He said, why? I said, I'm not going to get back in, so I'm just going to stay here. He's like, you sure? I said, yeah, I'm very sure. I'm just going to stay here because those long days are, but the terrain you see, and you'd see parts of the property that we don't get to
I see parts
to.
of the property the farmer doesn't.
I'll bet you do.
And I quite often comment on some of the landscape, and he looks at me as if to say, really?
Yeah.
I haven't been up there before.
How big is Mount Gap? Like how many?
The Mount Gap is actually not that big. It's only about 50,000 acres.
Okay, right. Yeah.
On the ski. Okay, it's big
Yeah,
for Brisbane, Sydney, or Melbourne. In fact, it's almost all of Sydney.
Yeah,
But,
wow.
no, it's out there. It's not big.
Yeah.
So there's a neighbouring property that's about 130,000 acres.
But
It's like next door.
Wow. Okay,
And
right.
The thing is, like that fence, you go, okay, this is only 50,000. And you go, okay, I'm only on a 50,000 acre size block. But when you get up on the top of some of those hills, I got an image burnt in my brain when we drove up a hill and looked out, and I was like, this is vast. It is just never ending vastness on the top of some of those ridges.
50,000, you get in one corner of 50,000, you cannot see line of sight the other boundary.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll bet you can't.
So
Mount Gap's not the first station on that road.
no, we've got
raised-
Tambua Station,
Tambua, that's
which is a neighbouring property that we use at times.
Yeah. Okay.
And we used to run it at Tambua as well.
Yeah.
So, and the folks there are lovely. And the one thing that's changing out there is there's been carbon credits, which is it's good to see that that businesses, international businesses, can offset their global activities by investing in securing land that's not going to be developed,
Yeah.
and the vegetation remains, and it's
Yes.
sort of like a security bond to say we'll give you this money, and you're not going to tear down all the trees, and we're going to, because the trees catch carbon.
Exactly.
And that's what makes a tree grow. And then they want the tree to fall over and rot into the ground.
Yeah.
Ideally, not have a bushfire and put it all back into the atmosphere.
Try not to. Yeah.
And so carbon credits are a thing for the area. Not so much Mount Gap, but for other neighbouring properties.
Yeah.
So that they've got we respect that. So they don't, it's sort of made some of those neighbouring properties less available.
Yeah.
There's wind farming is coming in.
Okay.
So if we go back there in another 10 years' time, we'll
be
start seeing I'll call them windmills.
Yeah.
The wind generators.
That's just west of Cobar, are a lot of propities. now
Yeah.
getting,
So all those mountain districts in that area.
Yeah.
So that'll change things. So, so it's it's a great spot. What I like about Cobar is that it's equal distance from Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and Adelaide.
Okay.
You couldn't
pretty
get it
impressive.
more
I haven't
centrally
noticed that.
located.
Yeah. It is a drive.
Yeah.
It is
It's a drive, but I like it as long as you don't eat chicken skewers on the way.
Yeah. Stay at the Sermo hotbox, you're all right.
It's 10 to 12 hours from Melbourne. It's 10 to 12 hours from Sydney. It's about 14 hours from Brisbane.
Yeah. It's
And
Got
it'd
24
be,
hours if Mick has to have a nap.
Yeah, it'd be about 10 or 12 hours from Adelaide too. So
yeah.
it's
It's pretty central.
So it is pretty central, and like I said before, it's right on the verge of society. You know what I mean? So from
You're on the
Cobar
brink.
in, you've got access to we've got access to hospitals and things like that. But there's spare parts and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And we're just on the fringe of the outback.
Everyone's running back into Fingy's house at some point to do some work to a car or something.
Or 57 Automotive out to Perry's place. But
exactly.
it is on all the roads into Cobar are quite good, unless you come in from Burke. But the roads are all quite good. So to get there, you're not on horrible outback
Correct.
roads.
It's bitumen all the way to the Mount Gap Road.
Yeah, and then even the Mount Gap Road, she's always in good shape. I don't know if that's just been convenient timing for us all as competitors, but that road is always in pretty good shape, except the year it was wet.
Yeah, given that it's not wet and hopefully we don't make a mess of it.
Fingers crossed.
After we've had so many vehicles along it, the road gets better.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
So when we get there, and we first get there, a month before the event, it's corrugated and bloody stones all over the place, and you can see where the farmers have been driving on the other side of the white posts, going around all the rough bits. You know what? By the time we head home, it's a highway. All the big rocks have been spat off, and everything's smoothed out.
Because like, how many semi-trailers come? Like, there's always a semi-trailer load of cars coming from Rocky or Melbourne and that, full of cars. Like, everyone knows it's going to throw rocks off the road. So yeah, it definitely would. And that's how, when you think about of how accessible the property is they're getting semi-trailer loads of stuff in there all the time.
Yeah, it is impressive that road condition. It's always been nice. So it's easy to access as a competitor or as a spectator as well. Which is good.
That's what I found was awesome about it as well. Like, some of the days you guys went and did your 100-point GPS stage that's in the middle of nowhere, us spectators can't see it. So they were like, you guys go to town and bring us back some more water, bring back a bit of fuel, a bit of oil.
You went to the mining museum.
The mining museum was fantastic.
Lunch at the pub.
Put some money into the local economy. But that's another thing. You bring some money. I know fuel-wise, we purchased a bit in Cobar, so a fairly good boost for the local economy.
Yeah, it's great. I guess I should do the sums one day and work out roughly. Yeah. But I mean, my plan is we're going to have 100 teams racing this year.
Yeah, 100 teams is...
That's a lot.
It's going to be, for me as a spectator, it's going to be awesome.
And if each team spends, I'll say $10,000.
That's gentle.
But you work out the amount of fuel, the cost of, and each team is represented by what? How many? 5 cars?
Yeah.
And each one spends $1,000 on fuel?
Yeah.
Okay, there's $5,000 of the 10.
Yeah.
Just in petrol alone, not in food, beer, spare parts of, just for running your car and tyres for the tow vehicle and tyres for the trailer and, all those sorts of things. So, 100 times $10,000, it's got to be $1 million.
Yeah.
So,
you think about
for the local economy.
Yeah, definitely. It's massive. Like, when we were lined up there, we were getting fuel, filling 2 44-gallon drums full of fuel.
The lineup of that servo.
At the last service station. There was 5 teams pulled up. They'd all doing their last bits of shopping in town before they came into the servo and filled up. Everyone's spending fuel prices these days, $1,500 on fuel for just race cars.
But then the leftover fuel was given back to the locals too in 2019. I especially remember with the hay drive. That was such a good thing.
The drought out there at that time was horrendous.
Wasn't it good when they everyone rallied together and gave to the property owners?
Cash, fuel, hay. That was my first Cliffy. That was pretty great to see that as a good feeling after a week of what we did, and the fact that they just so willingly accept us into their property.
And you could see them saying, like, don't give us the money. Like, it's okay. Like, we farmers were out here. It's just, everyone's just like, no. Come here to race. We drove around and kicked dust up all over your property for a week.
They're so giving.
It was like farming on Mars. It was, I was there for a month and didn't see a blade of grass.
No.
For the whole month. There was nothing.
Yeah. That 2019, there's a photo of us pulled up back at camp after we'd done the figure 8 stage and then the winch wall to finish. And because we were doing a winch wall, I ran an open face helmet, which to most winch competitors, open face helmet, but Ultra 4s don't have windscreens at all. So there's this photo of me grinning and I'm like orange, like I got the full Trump going on. It's the biggest grins on mixing my faces, but it was so dusty and red. Like my swag, I had it out on the weekend. He's still red from 2019. I can't get the red dirt out of it. It's just, it was wild that year.
I remember one year you and Mick finished coming through the thick bush or the thick
Fanghorns
scrub.
Forest.
That's it.
I remember the look on your face.
And you had 15 kilometres of a rocky creek bed.
Yeah, which was great.
Yeah. And then we got you into one side of this really thick forest and you had a waypoint that took you out the other side of the forest. And you guys came out, you had sticks and branches hanging out of the vehicle. There was a trailer load of debris in the truck with you.
There was a big gum branch or whatever probably the gum tree was that round hooked in the winch hook. Yeah. But we were the first car through it and Steve came over and he's like, how'd you go? And when he looked in the car, I was like trying to throw the sticks out. I'm like, this is a fire hazard in this car. It was that was an experience, that track, that stage. All those trees are dead in that area.
Yeah,
and
a lot of them are dead.
And it's there was a bit of a swampy.
There's some swampy
feel.
stuff, and it floods in there when they have water.
Yeah,
so
an interesting area. It's like we'd have footage of it, I reckon.
But the excitement you could just about weigh with you guys.
Oh,
it was like another dimension of excitement.
So much fun. I always smile talking about Cliffy.
Yeah.
As a competitor, you have the best time.
Yeah.
And you see things like the 100K stage in 2021. I've got a series of quick snippets of video, and you go from driving through bush to farm roads to the creek. The creek beds are one of my favourite parts of Cliffhanger. I don't know why. It's just so much fun.
There's just lots of noise.
Yeah, the rocks. And then you'll be driving along and you're like 20 Ks in and you haven't seen anyone, or you've seen a few cars, and then you pop up over a crest and there's like 100 spectators, and you're like, down the hill, you just turn down the hill and off you go along a fence line. And you're like, how did they all get there? You don't realise. You think you're just going further and further away, but you really don't. You kind of just do a lot of looping back when you end up looking at the map. But
that's what we were doing when we were there
good.
in 2019. I remember going to Stairway to Heaven. That's an awesome hill.
That was fun.
We were, the spectator marshals got lost. I think they may have just put the GPS point in wrong. And Mick was like, on the radio, he's like, our start point's here. So we were like, oh, just grab the other GPS. Oh, no, it's 300 metres that way. You just can't see it through the bush. You just drive around the bush and then we're at the bottom of the hill. So
That's
right.
right.
There we go.
Yeah. But I've never met a competitor that didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. You know, Stairway to Heaven.
Yes.
Hasn't been driven yet.
No, yeah, I don't think.
No, we tried and we
I
stuck.
think you got really close.
Well,
I think
know.
the closest attempt I've seen would be Guy Stewart in his green midi, the boys from Patrol Apart. They gave it a very good
run
attempt.
at it.
I think it was 2016 on the DVD I've got.
Yeah.
They gave it a real good run, but haven't seen anyone drive it.
It doesn't look severe.
No.
And then when you get out of the car and you unhook that winch rope and you turn around and look at it and you're like, I'm in the wrong seat.
I got to climb that.
Oh, man. The video of me running up it, you can hear Cam Marks, run, Navy, run. You can't run.
Yeah.
It's just, so good.
I tried to get the zebra up. I wanted to get a photo.
Yeah.
I just wanted a photo, and I thought, I'll just see how far I can get it. And because we're taking it really slow, and that thing runs around with like 3 PSI in the tyres.
Yeah.
And I thought, bloody hell, I'm getting a long way. I just couldn't get the back wheels up the step.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, hang on, I haven't got a roll cage in this thing.
It's a big hill in like just of like that rollingness to it, and then the rock step at the top is like 8 foot tall, vertical rock step. Like it's an awesome hill.
In typical Steve Hobbs Cliffhanger fashion, we came out of the top of that, and then it was like 4 GPS points down the backside of the hill through a little creek to the finish. Awesome fun. The contrast on stages is so good, because you can be like climbing that, it's technical, and you get back in your strappy and you're trying to breathe, and it's like, all right, go, and then you're like straight ahead and like, a little bit left, there it is. It's so good. It's just speed and
Well, we try and do that with all the stages. We don't want it's not a winch challenge.
No, it's exactly right.
So we don't just say, right, you got to get from the bottom of you don't go down here along a creek and up there and that's it.
Yeah.
No.
You know, that's not a Cliffy stage.
No.
Cliffy stage is, right, get from the bottom to the top and then go get 20 waypoints.
Yeah.
And that'll get you into a creek run, and then you got 10 kilometres of creek run, and that'll take you to the finish.
Yeah, the first winch wall we ever did, which I was paranoid about as a navvy because I felt all of the pressure on performing there, was quick creek run up the creek, and then we had a nominated spot actually, so our number was painted on the wall. But then I got through that, strapped back in, and then it was like 20 waypoints. It was a ball. It was so much fun, and you forget how mentally depleting the winch wall was.
Yeah.
Such a good time, and it's there isn't another event like it.
When you get a lot of vehicles, you've got to try and keep it fair. So what we do with the Cliffhanger wall, and everyone loves the Cliffhanger wall.
Yeah.
We get you to do a scramble through some scrub into a creek. Oh yeah, we might start 30 of you together at the same time. And into the creek, down the creek, you've got a bit of wall you've got to get up. And then, but your bit of wall will be different length of creek than everyone else's bit of wall.
Yeah.
Then you've got to go and get a whole heap of waypoints. And then you've got to go back to your bit of wall and back down your wall.
Yeah.
And finish the creek run.
Yes.
That means everyone's done the same amount of creek run.
Yeah, exactly.
You with me? So
And
it's not an unfair advantage that someone got a close wall.
Yes, yep.
Because we just have to bring that into it because
Yeah.
when you got a lot of cars, it's hard to get a bit of wall all in the same area. You got to the wall might be spread out over 2 kilometres.
Yeah,
So you mentioned the Rampage stage is coming back for 25.
Yep.
What other goodies have we got?
Okay,
coming?
so the Rampage stage, so it's GME Rampage. That is, last year we had, I keep saying last year.
21, it happens.
In 23, we had the Roadrunner Rampage, and it was in 3 sections, section A, B and C. Each section was about 40 kilometres long, and then you had to do A, B and C again.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Right, we had people. We had. I don't think we had anyone finish the whole lot. We had about 4 people finish 5 of the 6 stages.
I thought Sato was the only one that finished.
Sato
all.
might have been the only one, but it was very few.
Yeah.
And but we're talking midnight. We had to put a curfew on it. We sort of said
You have to.
at 9 p.m. you can't start another stage.
Yep.
So because otherwise everyone's out too long because they started at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
some of those days are long.
And anyway, we're going to do A and B this coming year. We're not going to do the C.
Okay.
So we're shortening it, but you've got to do A and B twice. Most of it will be the same course, which is fun because there's a track formed.
Perfect.
Right?
Yes.
It's great fun because rally stage through the trees, along the fence lines, and there's a formed track already, and it's just going to get more formed. But I've been watching Hammers. I can't help myself. And I was admiring the Hammers on the Saturday where they had 100 and something cars racing.
Yeah.
And I think they were up in Wrecking Ball. And there was only, the worst it got was about 5 cars waiting.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, so when you do A for the second time, I will deviate you up a gorge run. And there's some ledges in the gorge run.
Yep.
And
It's
I'll
like
get
a joker run.
Yeah, and I'm going to get the spectators into there.
Perfect.
So that they can watch, and we'll have a park from A system, so that if a car comes in and there's 10 cars in front and they're and they're stopped, they can effectively have the clock stopped.
They can stage.
But they've got to get away from the car.
Okay,
You can't pump up your tyres, you can't top up your radiator, you can't
You can get a drink of
clean
water,
all the sticks
essentially.
out of your radiator, and you can't be fiddling with the car, you can't be punching more waypoints. That's you want to keep doing that. Your clock stays running.
Yep.
But if you step away from the car,
behind
you can
a tape or something.
and you can head up and watch or help or whatever, and then so that way I've got a bit of a contingency in case there is a delay.
Yep.
But I think it'd be so cool to have, and I'm hoping that because we're doing it on the second lap, and they've done A, B, and they're doing A second time, everyone's going to be spread right out. There could be half an hour apart coming through, and there won't be any delays. And if there is, got a plan B.
Yeah, that's it. You've got to have that safety aspect. It's not
So rules on trail plugs then? Are we going to be allowed to drive over a slower? You wouldn't want to, but...
You can drive over someone's GQ bonnet in an Ultra 4. That's unfair.
We've been driven over it. It sucks.
If it happens, it happens.
And look,
Right?
everyone's very respectful out there, honestly.
Actually, what happens is that we might be really competitive at camp, but as soon as the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 go, everyone starts helping each other.
99% of
It's
it,
very true.
you just feel like you're out there wheeling with your mates. Like we had a creek run with Josh Marks and Andy, and they're just bouncing along and waving. And same thing, Carl and Cam, we pulled up, hey, in the scrub, waving at each other and having a yell through the window at each other. And it's a good feeling as a competitor. Like I said, you're competing and you're racing, but no one is against one another out there. It's not.
Yeah.
Everyone knows you need
It's
each other.
It's not NASCAR where you're competing for $1 million check. Let's just go out and see if we can both finish this. That's the beauty of off-road racing, I think.
Is
so hard.
The biggest competitors we face are the devils at home stopping us from racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bet.
It's our work commitments. It's sometimes it's overwhelming, the preparation required to get the car ready and juggle family and juggle work and all
that's
those
what
sorts of
we
things.
had plans we were going to enter my brother's car in Super Tourer. He ended up having a baby, so it's just we're not going to commit that money. You having a baby, do that.
The lead into our first cliffhanger, because we wanted to be reliable. Mick and I were in that car every second Sunday for 6 months. And then on the drive home from driving the car, you know, I'd have my phone out and I'd write myself an email to my work email on Monday morning. He and I'd sit down and go through things that we needed to fix and address. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but every second Sunday for 6 months, just for one event, you're like, it's a time commitment. And then there was the time to actually fix everything after that. You spend 2 weeks tinkering, cutting new parts, making new parts, moving things, changing things, rewiring things, and then go out again Sunday 2 weeks later and do it again. And I know a lot of people, there are people that probably don't quite do that, but there are people that put a lot more effort in too.
Yeah.
It's the time that goes into it.
I totally get that. You know,
Yeah.
I got my own car and I try and race it when
Yeah,
I can.
yeah.
Or even just setting up the event.
Yeah.
How much time do you spend out at Mount Gap in a year, in a lead up?
I will do 3 trips of about 2 weeks each. So there's 6 weeks.
Yep.
I'll get there 4 to 6 weeks before the event.
Yep.
Then I've got the week of the event and I've got a week of cleaning up. So 3 months
Yeah.
this coming year. We've got over 100 entries.
That's a huge
It's
number of
gonna be
vehicles.
awesome. It's
So-
everyone's.
It takes your breath away
Oh,
thinking
yeah,
about
it
it.
does.
You should see the size of the list.
What have you? So logistically, what have you done with camp? Is it just continue up the creek?
Yeah, it's like Hammertown. It's
It's-
like
yeah, it
Cliffy
will be.
Town.
Cliffy Town.
yeah, it's literally going to be Cliffy Town.
It's it always was with 40 competitors. You had a lot, so 100's going to be
Yeah.
huge, but
Well,
it's going to be a lot of space.
If you remembered, we had a paddock behind camp that we had for a test track.
yes.
Well, we're
Yeah,
not having
I
that
remember
as
the
test track now.
yeah.
We're going to let Cliffy Town head up in that direction.
Spread out into there. Okay,
Yep.
that's over that gully.
Yeah, through the
Yep.
little creek behind camp.
Yep.
And out off the back on the other side of the creek.
Yep.
Perfect.
And we've got wristbands, and because I'm going to be trying to run an event and not worrying about toilets, that's, you know, Rudy is I'll call him the event secretary.
The count.
Yep.
The count is he handles everything to do with camp.
Yep.
And we've got plans in stage, like when we've got 500 wristbands, we change colour wristband, because then we know that we've 500 people on site.
Yep.
And then we go, the next colour changes, we know we've hit 1,000. The next colour changes, we know we've hit 1,500.
Yes.
And when we jump those increments, we know we need more toilets.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Okay. Yep.
we're already doing the legwork now, because some toilets you've got to pump out. Well, that's no good, because the pumping man all of a sudden has got a reason why he can't come out and
Yep.
pump toilets. So
Yeah.
there's certain toilets that can be emptied with taps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so they'll get carted away on trailers and emptied into a big pit, and then brought back, rinsed and cleaned and brought back.
Ready to go.
And then as we go to another 500, right, we need more toilets.
Yeah.
So, because we don't know how many we're going to need.
Exactly.
Because how many people are coming? Is
That's
it
a
going to be
hard read.
1,000, 2,000 or 10,000?
100
Yeah.
competitors, 100 entrants, so you've got 200 people straight away, driver Navi.
There's
But
200 drivers and navies.
you-
There's going to be over 100 people just in marshals and admin and official people. So there's 300.
And even if half of those drivers and navies had a partner, no kids that came out, you've already throwing another 100 in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And then mates. I know a lot of the guys from that winch scene. Like I said, it's a real tight knit, everyone's mates thing. You get 15 to 20 blokes rock up just because their mates rolled his GQ out to have a crack at Cliffy,
Yeah.
and you're like, all of a sudden, this number, it's going to be a lot of people.
And this year as well, you're going to have that aspect of it's the last one. I have to go view it. Like,
That's right.
You're
Well,
gonna
This
have
is not
that.
one to miss and say, I'll do the next one.
Yeah, exactly
My,
right. Yeah,
my older
yeah.
brother's been saying
You
for
can't miss
years.
the last Cliffy.
Yeah, he's been saying, I want to go to Cliffy, I want to go to Cliffy. And then I started doing it. He's like, oh, it looks like a good time. I'd love to come spectate. And then this year he's like, well, I have to come.
Yeah.
I said, damn
Yeah,
straight
That's
you do.
right. Yeah.
I want to miss
well,
it.
we've just ordered 3,000 shirts.
Yeah, right. Yes.
And I hope,
That's good.
I don't want to run out, but if we do, it's a good problem.
Because
Yeah,
all mine are
exactly.
stuffed. I need new shirts. All my Cliffy shirts are buggered.
Yep. So we've got plans in place for around camp with toilets and those sorts of things. One of my other logistical challenges is how do I keep 100 cars racing without having too many delays?
Yes.
And
Rally Safe's been a game changer for that.
Rally
I
Safe.
hate that expression, but Rally Safe's been truly spectacular, hasn't it?
Yep. So what we're going to do, the prologue stage. So it needs to have a bit of everything, because it's a way of sorting out the good guys from the not so good guys.
Yeah.
Barring a couple of mechanical headaches. So we end up with the good guys mixed in with the bad guys. But we're going to start by we need to do a photo shoot.
Yeah.
So we're going to have 100 cars, and I really want there to be 100 cars.
Yeah.
Lined up in a row for a photo shoot, all facing a certain direction. And because it'll look great for the on the drones, we'll have all the marshal cars lined up behind them.
Yeah.
And then all the spectator cars lined up behind them.
A
So
lot.
almost like Chinese military grid.
Very.
You can imagine.
Yeah.
How cool would that look?
That would be good. That's some of my favourite photos. We took we've got a group photo from 2019 of all the cars lined up after the figure 8 stage. Great photos, just all these cars in the scrub.
Can you imagine 100 of them?
Yeah.
100 race trucks, millions and millions of dollars worth of tyres and winches and all that sort of stuff
So
lined up in a row.
if you're an entrant for 2025, please get your car.
Yeah,
man. Don't
make it look good.
Oh yeah.
don't hurt us on our photo. We need our photo.
Yeah, we need the photo.
That's it. That's probably one of my favourites. It's probably my favourite year of Cliffhanger too, because my old man came 2009. It was out of White Cliffs. The photo that's along the bottom of the website from 2009
That's it.
of all the competitors.
Iconic.
It's iconic. Like it's got Robbie Marshall's GU, the RGM GQ in its first form, which they won it that
The
year.
first form.
There's so many awesome cars lined out in that one big photo.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
The cars
And
are
then-
big personalities on their own.
Yeah. Robbie Marshall was crazy with the big blower and all that
Big
sort
blow.
of
I
stuff.
think that thing made like 1,400 horsepower or something that year.
When it was going, it was going.
Yeah. And same with, they call it was Madica Racing then, Greg Jackson, RGM. Like that thing had the wildest sounding blower on it. I think it's only a LSX 454. It's
Only.
small compared to
Yeah.
what it was.
Little one.
But yeah. But like it
That
just
would put a horn on a jellyfish.
yeah. I remember when my old man came home, they had like a party. His mates that he went with, they watched the DVD, or when the DVD came out, and he brought it home. He said, "There you go, son, watch that." And he's like, "Listen, the first night stage, running through the paddocks towards the mud, listen to this yellow, blue, and white GQ," and it's just like, what?
Yeah.
Like it just like just that whine just coming through the bush. All you can see is lights just moving through the bush. It's absolutely awesome, and that I think that image sticks in everyone's head that's watched that of that car is unreal.
Moving on from a really awesome photo shoot, one better than that is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all 100 together.
Are we in the car? Are we in the car prior to the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Or are we running to the car? Because I'll go Le Mans style.
You're not running into the car because some people don't like running. And we don't want people driving off without harnesses on and all that. So we've got to safety check it. We've got to try and keep it all cool.
Fair enough. 100 cars is hard to marshal.
But that first row will be taking off. Can you imagine the noise and the dust and
all the marshals' cars are getting showered in bundies this big.
and
Everyone's
they're basically going to head off about 6 kilometres in the distance. They'll have their notes will say, okay, here's the start. Here's your first waypoint, and then here's your last waypoint, which gets you into a creek and then runs to home.
Yep.
When you get to the first waypoint, if you can imagine like 5 booze buses, although there's going to be no booze bus, but it'll have all the cones, and you'll drive into a slow zone, like a pit lane,
like the pit we had.
And the rally safe can control that.
Yeah, you don't
and so you'll quickly reach that, slow down, drive up in any line. The marshals are going to hand you a sheet. It's going to have 30 waypoints on it, and you'll be whoosh through out the other side, park up somewhere,
pull up under a tree,
punch your 30 waypoints in, and then tear off and go and get your 30 waypoints in whatever direction you want. And for those that don't know, a waypoint is like an invisible circle on the ground.
Yeah.
So it's the GPS finds it, and the rally safe says waypoint achieved, and then you go off to the next one.
And that's
so there's no number on a tree.
Because you're sitting there with your GPS and you're like 300 meters, 200 meters, 150, 100, and then your GPS you just give up on the GPS. You take a mental note and you say, okay, well, the next one's going to be in the direction we're heading. The next one's 35 degrees that way. And then you're looking at your rally safe and you're waiting, and it counts you down.
Yeah.
And then you go, good, and then the drivers are on it, and then you're like, that way, next one, and bouncing between the two is so much fun. At speed, it's so much fun.
So it gives you, obviously, as a non-competitor, it's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on the rally safe to say it's picked that.
Yeah, it depends. The screen, the last time I used the screen, it was blue, and it would count you down on distance to this, like as you said, this circle on the ground, and
virtual checkpoint.
Once you hit it, because the point might be, because it's an exact GPS point, it's a very precise point, but you give it a 10 metre?
Yeah, it'll be it's usually about a 10 or 20 metre radius. I can tell the rally safe system what we want to go with, depending on the terrain. And it'll be fairly accurate then, because it means to get it, they've actually got to get it. They can't near enough's not good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you've got to be, when you think, you go, 10 metre circle, that's pretty big. You're in a car that's, almost 6 metres long, depending on the vehicle.
And it's 5 metres either side of it.
Yeah.
And you could be over there and you miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got to come back.
Yeah.
The little pointer helps. The pointer bar helps with direction. But when you miss a point, you think you got it, you're like, and then you see the numbers start going up, you're like, oh, no.
Yeah. The good guys, okay, for those that aren't familiar with it, the good guys, they'll run 2 GPSs in the car.
Yep.
One of them will be an arrow.
Yeah.
So it'll be a dedicated arrow. And the navigator, he's got his big screen and he'll have his 30 waypoints all laid out. He can see the terrain and the creeks and, topographical lines and all that sort of stuff. The driver, he doesn't need the navigator to say go left, go right. He's got his arrow. And he's steering to the arrow. And he might have on his, he'll also have distance to waypoint, so he can see, the driver can see, I've got 500 metres or 200 metres to go, whatever, and an alarm might sound at 100 or whatever. And then, so the driver can say to the Navi, hey, we've got 150 metres to go. So the Navi's thinking, right, I got my cursor, it's ready over my next waypoint, so I'm ready to hit the go button for the next one. And the driver will be steering in. Now, if the driver then, when you get to within like 50 metres, the rally safe unit will say, okay, you've got a warning alert. So it's alert to say it's now 50 metres and it's in a northwest direction or a bearing of 30 degrees or whatever. And so the driver, a good driver, will now steer off the rally safe unit and the navigator is just waiting for it to go blue. And he's not even looking at the ground. He's not looking at the ground or anything. He's just watching and he's got his finger on the go button. And as soon as it goes blue, and he's already told the driver the next one's that way.
The driver's arrows.
He goes bang, and the driver's arrow goes boink, and they're off. And a good team can do that without slowing down. They can cruise in. They might get down to like 50 kilometres an hour.
Maybe.
Yeah, but the slow teams, they'll go circles and wiggles and backwards and forwards and all over the place. And then they've got to stop, and then they've got to wait for the key in the next waypoint, or not so much key the waypoint in, but select which one they're going to do next.
Exactly. So your run through of that, and I feel like we're probably not that good now because we do it very differently. Like we do have the arrow, and Mick can look at the arrow at times, but that man looks out the window and nowhere else in a car. So he's relying on me to say the rally safe is pinged, let's go. He doesn't look at rally safe, doesn't look at my GPS. Very seldom looks at the arrow on his.
You mean he's not doing as much as all the other drivers?
Oh, apparently not. Apparently not.
To crash into things. He's pretty good at it.
No, I'll just say to him, as we're within X amount of distance, I'll say, all right, after we hit this point, you're going left about 9 o'clock from where we are, and it's a hard 90. He'll be like, right, and I'll just count him down, and then he just waits, and I say, rally safe's got it, go. And we're already off on the next one. But same thing, I'm still smacking our GPS and his arrow's working, but he rarely looks at the arrow because he's 100% looking at the road. And then I didn't realise how tunnel visioned he got until we did there was a 100-point GPS paddock in 19, and then there was a run down some fence lines and through farm gates home. And it was so much fun. Great photos and great footage from that stage. But when we pulled up, I said, oh, did you see those competitors on the fence? He said, what competitors and what fence? I said, what do you mean? He didn't see them. I was like, so I've got to really, I'm very involved with both the units, and he's just, I'm just telling him which way to go. But he doesn't like to slow down. So So maybe he's not a good driver.
And as a navigator, you've got to be flexible enough to say, hang on, I've got to change our route. Because the terrain changes, and it's one thing to look at it on a flat screen.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when you get to it, you think, hang on a minute, it's up there.
But even
really?
topo lines,
I'm going to go for the one there. Instead of going from there to there, I'm going to go around and get that one on the way back.
Yeah.
But even your topo lines, you look at them and you go, oh, they're pretty far apart. But what you don't realise is that's the big brother to the stairway to heaven. They're like 90-degree ledges. You're like, well, okay, we're going the other way.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky enough to have done a few, you get the familiarity on some places, and you can be like, there's a road here. Let's.
Yeah.
But
That's what I've always heard is with Cliffhanger, everyone's like, if you're turning up as a first year competitor, make sure you chat to someone who's competed there before and try and get some form of GPS map of the roads. If you're just in the bush driving around, you're just going to drive around in circles. If you can get it and work out how to quickly sneak down up around the hill because you know that there's a road there, that's the best way to do it.
I was lucky Moscow coached me a lot because in the lead up to that first one we did a triple S. Sterlo let us in with the Ultra 4 non-points just to have a look. And I remember getting a headache trying to use the GPS that weekend. I was so concerned about how I was going to perform at Cliffy. But a lot of those winch guys, Cam Marks and Tim White and that, Josh Marks, all those guys are real helpful. But Moscow really took it on board to try and give me advice. And even on the drive out there, because he didn't get to come out that year, I don't believe, but he was messaging me when I was in Cobo. He was like, mate, just don't worry about it. Do this. Don't think about this. Pay attention to these details. Really helpful, but competitors are like that.
That's another thing that I find amazing about the winch challenge or winch truck community is everyone wants to help everyone. Like everyone's they're just mates out there. Like it's just, let's go race, and when we pull up at the end of it, we'll laugh at it. It's like, why'd you crash into me?
They're all helping each other get their GPSs working.
Yeah.
They're helping, they're lending spare tyres midway through the week.
Exactly,
They're saying, oh, this is what I do with the winch to make it better. This is what I do with this ground anchor to make it better. They're sharing the ideas. They're not keeping them secrets.
No, that's it. Like no one's out there trying to sneak their little, oh no, like I've got this sneaky pin to help me get the ground anchor off the bed. It's like they'll just, your first thing like, oh, you got that out there easy? Yeah, I've got this pin. It's the best way to do it. Yeah. Everyone's just passing information around the camp constantly.
Yeah.
You fostered that. I mean, not solely, but definitely helped with that.
So moving on from the prologue, we're going to have, that night, we're going to have our classic creek run.
Awesome.
Which starts just near camp.
So much fun.
Good.
That goes for about, I think the quickest time we've seen that done is about 17 or 18 minutes. So that's 18 minutes of, you can't hold your breath that long, right?
No.
That's up the fence.
Well, you got to tell yourself at some stage to start breathing.
Yeah.
That's up the fence, drop in, back down the creek.
Yeah. So what we're going to, so we're going to do, so we'll be in the creek all the way to the edge of the property, and then you'll get out and then and follow various farm tracks to the finish, which will just be near the start, which is just next to camp.
Yeah, just in the creek. Yeah.
Okay, got 100 cars, 2-minute intervals. It's 100 minutes. So, but that's
in a perfect world.
But yeah, that's in a perfect world.
That's exactly right. Until someone wedges into a tree halfway through the creek.
Well, then we just have to clear them out.
You two are going to be
guilty of that.
But basically, their rally safe knows what their start time's going to be.
Yep.
You don't have to all line up for 2 hours before the event.
Yep.
Before the stage, you can be at camp, you can have tea, you can work on your car and all that, and your rally safe is counting you down. You don't want to miss your start time because it starts whether you're there or not.
Yeah, exactly.
And so people will fiddle at camp, but they'll be at their start on time, and when they're finished, they can go back to camp. So we can get all cars up there at night time.
I've actually witnessed people miss that start time. We had a car that was meant to be in front of us, and Mick's like, all right, are we next? I said, no, we got 2 minutes. So what do you mean? I said, there must be a car that's meant to be in front of us because we got 2 minutes. He's like, you sure? I was like, rally safe can't be wrong.
Look, sometimes it happens because they broke on the previous stage.
Yeah.
And they haven't finished replacing the diff yet.
So that's it. Like you look at Jesse Gleason the year in 2019.
Motor swap.
They cracked ahead. And it was like, drove back to camp, it was sitting on 200 degrees. He's like,
took off to Tamworth and got a cylinder head. Yeah.
No, they got a whole new motor. They had the Patroller Part team bring them up a motor, and they bolted the whole thing in.
So you got your night stage in place.
Yeah, so we've got the night stage, and so that'll be a bit of fun. And then on the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're going to break you into 3 groups.
Okay.
It'll be based on the prologue, so the fast. So I'll call it groups of 35.
Yep.
So about 100 cars, and so you'll have these selection of stages, and then Group B will be in these selection of stages, and then Group C will be that selection of stages.
Yeah.
And then on the next day, you will all move on,
plot around,
rotate, so that so the stages will go for 3 days.
Yeah.
2 of those groups will be close to each other, so that the spectators can come, and there'll be some really cool winching and really cool stuff to watch.
That's what I was going to say.
So they can watch their team race, but they could also go and watch all the other cars doing things, and they've got a lot of choices. They'll have 60 cars to watch from that part. And then there'll be another location where they're going to be doing other things, and then their spectators can head over there and watch. And And then we're going to have some stages at night time as well, some navigational stages. And some,
points.
I think we've got to do that winch one next to camp again. So that's just a crowd pleaser, that one.
Yeah, that makes everyone happy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Will it be broken up like how you've got 3 race groups? Will it be broken up into 3 groups of spectators in case of, I want to go watch my family do that thing? Like, for instance, for me, if I'm following Angus and Mick around and they begin to suck and they keep DNFing every stage, right? I can be like, well, I'm just going to go watch the competitive guys.
You can go and watch the good guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We've established that we're not good. We don't know how to use rally safe and GPS.
Yeah, just front up because it's good for your work.
Yeah.
And then say, right, stuff this. I'm going to go.
Yeah, you guys suck.
There will be no trips into town for you this year, eh?
So, I
reckon I can work something out.
But the spectators have that ability. First of all, there'll probably be 2 groups of spectators for 3 groups because the one group will see 2
can
groups.
see 60, 70 cars.
And then they can just do what they want to do to go and see it all,
Yeah.
And so we treat it like a show. Like we treat the competitors are like the cast of a play, and the spectators are the audience.
Yeah.
They need to be
And
there.
I've got to feed the audience with a show.
Yeah.
And you guys are putting on the show for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I've got all my crew, which is the marshals and everything.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit how I look at it.
So I have some concerns now because you said that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 groups rotating.
So you'll be in your group for the whole
Be in the group.
3 days.
So I get this unnerving feeling, and please tell me I'm wrong, that Thursday will be some sort of 100-point GPS.
No, first, that's going to be your Rampage stage.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That works out well. I like that. Okay.
Right. So you're all together for the Rampage stage.
Yep.
And I haven't worked out what order you're going to start that in.
Yeah.
I don't know that it really matters, but
No.
I'll worry about that later.
Yeah.
But that's going to be, so you've got A, B, and then A and B again, and you're going to plenty to see this time because I'm actually going to have spectators out in the gnarly bits.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you don't, and there's people that did the Rampage last year and think, oh, thank God we're not doing C, because C was really rocky and
She was gnarly.
she was really gnarly.
Damn.
So you're going to do that at night. That's going to be one of the night stages.
Awesome. that
So you're not getting away with it. That'll be, I don't know, that'll be Tuesday night or something.
Rocks are easier at night because you can't see half of it.
Yeah.
I think you're almost like a horse with blinders. You don't want to see everything. And when you go into the creeks at Cruiser Park, for instance, when we raced there, and you go to some of those rocks, you'd be like, oh, everything around us is horrendous. But when you're actually doing it at night, it's like tunnel vision. Whatever the headlights are lighting up, it's like, hey, this is all right.
You've got no
It's not
idea
too
what's
bad.
to the
That's
side of
exactly
you. That
right.
could be a desert flat or it could be a mountain range.
Yeah.
You don't know.
I've driven into some stuff, and then you go back in the next day, and you're like, "Whoa, what did I drive through here?"
Everything around here was awful. So that'll be cool to do that C loop at night.
So C will be done at night, and plenty did that last year at night time because it was part of their Rampage. But so it's doable.
How long is the C loop? 40 k's.
It was about 40 kilometres long. And so it'll be a night stage.
It'll be a long
so
night
it'll
stage.
be a good classic.
Oh, yeah.
And you only have to do it once. Won't make you do it twice.
Yeah.
But,
just for a laugh, do it in reverse.
and then on the Friday, we'll break you back into your old 3 groups again.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be the same groups because you're bonding. You're creating friendships and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. I love that.
You get a
I
bit
love
of
that from the
competitiveness
The
inside.
old Outback Challenge had that, like old school, back in the
That's
2000s.
way back.
Yeah, back in the early days.
So we'd be looking at the Motorcana,
Yep.
the figure of 8, the kidney bean,
The figure
those
of
sorts of fun stages.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 short stages, and you'll just rotate with those 3. And then the last one is the crescendo, cliffhanger wall,
The big wall.
the big wall, and then we'll try and get you all in to do the cliffhanger wall.
10 wide start, into the scrub, into a creek, wall, finish.
Wall, off to get some waypoints, back down your wall, back in your creek, and then have you finish near the spectators so that once you're done,
You're done.
you can unwind and have a beer and watch the other groups go through.
The first time we did Cliffhanger and when I finished strapping in at the top of the wall, because you have to be harnessed to finish the stage, and the marshal said, yep, you're done. That flood of emotion, you can't.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to put it into any words. And
It's
Mick was talking to me and I just wasn't answering him. And he's like, are you right? I was like, And then we turned the car off and he got out. I sat in the car for ages with my helmet on, just looking down. So I didn't know how to process it.
Yeah.
After, I think I put a bit of stress on myself that year, my own idiot way of approaching things, but just to survive that week as a competitor with the very few issues that year. We're pretty lucky. I'm like 21, but
it gets very emotional.
Yeah, it's something
because there's been such a build up with the pressures you put on yourself. You're wanting to keep other people happy. You're trying to satisfy other people in the team. Just
to satisfy the guy that pays my bills too.
Pays
my wage.
Yeah, that's right. You've got to keep the boss happy.
Yeah.
Your sponsors, your spectators and your support crew, the people back home that have helped you build a truck.
Yeah.
You try and keep your whole network ready, and keep them happy. And then there's yourself, and then there's your family, and then your friends, and the people that you talk to at barbecues for years afterwards.
Yeah.
And it can be overwhelming, and I get it. I get overwhelmed just with the pressure on me.
Yeah.
And I'm always, my quest of perfection. It's probably my biggest undoing is that you try to be perfect at everything you do.
I think. How long have you worked at Superior now?
Oh, 7 years.
I think Mitch would have witnessed my pursuit of perfection is my undoing.
The most anal person I've ever met.
Yeah, I just set. That's a nice way of putting it. I set a standard on myself. I set expectation that no one around me, no one expects me to do things to it. Why would they? But I'm just like, no, that's got to be done this way.
It's like you started going to gym for the first Cliffhanger in 2019. You're still going to gym like a psychopath.
Yeah, I do enjoy that though. 4 o'clock every morning, I'm up working out, and that's every Cliffhanger year. I start to think, okay, well, I'm working out so that every morning I'm working out so that when I got to run that rope up that hill, I can do it. Or if we have to do some silly semi-novelty stage where Hobbsy goes 250 meter dash on your legs back, first navvy back, I'm going to win that.
And that's a thing that some people don't understand, especially when it comes to an event like Cliffhanger. A navvy is not just about pressing that GPS point and pointing. Like getting a ground anchor off the back of a car and lugging it up a hill, then going back down for the winch cable and going up again. I've seen guys pass out under trees at top of winch walls.
What do you mean I need the winch extension rope up here?
Exactly.
It's not coming up.
Guess what? Because the event organiser made it so that all the trees that were within 30 metres of the top of the wall have been accidentally chopped down.
Yeah.
The first winch wall we actually did, Mick was saying to me in the comms, he's like, I want you to dig this out this way. I said, right on. And I wasn't frustrated at him, it was just the situation of it. And Bruce Fraser and Matt Funnell were to the left of us. And they pulled up after us, but they were getting Bruce's car hill up this way quicker than we were. Anyway, Mick goes, did you see the way Funnell cut that wall down? No, I didn't see the way Funnell cut that wall down, mate. I'm a little busy up here. Winch in. And he's like, sorry. And I was just like, mate, I'm not watching the surrounds. But yeah, it's fantastic. And then, you go back to camp.
Did you get to see any of the last year's stages?
I've seen some footage. Yeah, I've seen some footage.
Yeah. We had a few new ones that were ball terrors, like Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
And that was 150 metre. It doesn't sound like much.
No. 150 metres sucks.
When you think of that's an Olympic-sized pool 3 times end for end up.
And then it's got horrible rocks to walk on that you can barely walk up in there. Every time you step on one, it wants to slide out.
Yep. And you are watching your feet, and you're not in hiking boots; you're in race boots generally. Yeah. I mean, so you're really slogging your way up some of those. If you've got a winch hook or a rope, or and it's getting caught on the drum, and you think you got momentum, and you don't, you almost fall back down.
You see it from a few events throughout the years of just watching winch challenges from all sorts of different things and full drive competitions. There'll be sometimes someone will get in and make a video. I think one of them I've seen, I think it was from Cliffhanger, was called like a promo for the real hard workers of winch challenge. And it was just navvies carrying ground anchors or walking up hills. And you can just see him going like, why am I here again? Like, why did I say yes to this?
The ground grabbers and the Pedro Fab ground anchors and that, I mean, those things are heavy. There's no nice way to put it.
No.
So
The
gym
good
every
ones,
day.
the good ones are the ones that don't break.
Yes.
Just got the
Guess
same.
what? They're the heavy ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's why we've got the same ground grabber still.
Yeah, that's right.
broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that goes into it for a navvy. It's not just point and shoot and tell the driver where to go. It's not like Dakar or something like that where they're sitting and pointing.
And you've got to be a mechanic. You know, you've got to be fixing the car.
That's
You've got to be
it.
willing to get stuck in, and you be the chef because you cook the
You've got to
tuna
be
steaks.
you've got to be the MacGyver, don't you? You've got to be able to fix
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
with what you've got in the car.
And report and feedback on things too. Like I remember we rolled in from a stage and we're going back to camp. I said, Mick, do you feel that like vibration under acceleration? He said, not really. I said, it didn't feel right. And he's like, what do you reckon? I was like, oh. We got out on a road and we did a couple of quick sort of stop starts, and he was like, oh yeah, we'll have a look, and got under in the uni joint. The transfer case end was shot, so sides off, seats out, floor apart, hours of work to replace the uni joint, which if we hadn't, we probably wouldn't have finished the year because that would have punched out. So
Well spotted.
you've got to pick those things and then, like I said, cook dinner. And
Oh, that's it. Like every year, the year I came down, I don't know what happened last time. I might have been crook then, but like every night we'd roll it in, jack it up, check all the tyres for punctures because you get punctures every day, and then it's pull the wheel for a mixed car at that time. I think
Wheel
the housing
bearings.
was bent. It was wheel bearings every single night. Check
Grease
the kingpin,
everything.
check the kingpin bolts because of mixed special fancy
the things you got
skiffs.
to do.
Yeah, it's just constantly of maintenance just to make sure all four wheels stayed inflated and on the car.
So do your marshals have to fix their cars every night?
They don't flog them quite like you guys do. I got to give a lot of the marshals a lot of credit because they go out of their way to make sure that my car's still going.
That's good.
Because I'd run on about 2 to 3 hours sleep a night for a week.
I can tell.
So, you know, I'm up at 4 in the morning and I go to bed after midnight, and I do that for a week.
Yeah.
Well,
And I haven't got time to fix my own tyres or, I mean, they've fixed my brakes. We had starter motor issues, these silly things. That's why I got 2 cars.
Yeah.
Because I just flick to the other one.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I get back and they go, oh, the GQ's running again. Beauty. You know,
Thank you.
And, you know, and then the guys are fantastic like that, the helpfulness.
Yeah.
And,
It's that environment, isn't it?
you know, just so that we can keep going. And yeah, so the marshals they wear their cars out. We, some of them go above and beyond, and they take on the role of like recovery.
Yeah.
And we don't rely upon the marshals to do recovery. We try and get the competitors to do the recovery and the competitors to recover other competitors.
Yeah.
And but every now and then we've got to put a marshal in a spot where, like on Mount Kilimanjaro, where if you get yourself all undone and crossed up, you just
ugly.
want to throw a hook on and not pull you up, but just
Align
a
the car.
safety.
Just safety.
It's just a safety line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're quite often putting their hand up saying, I'd love to be that guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, credit to them.
Oh, that's
And-
it. Yeah.
And then they usually help out and you know, we try and make it so that if someone did get 3/4 of the way up and spat a diff or something like that,
Yeah.
they can't get themselves down, that we'll get one of the other competitors to try and help them out. And we sort of have this code of ethics amongst our competitor base that, you know, we help each other out and understand that, yes, I get it that event management should have recovery vehicles in theory to recover vehicles, but the reality is that these are marshals.
Yeah.
They're volunteers with volunteer cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you
And-
recover a patrol on 40s with twin locked, and if that thing's in strife,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's almost Discovery 2 going to do.
Yeah, that's right.
And like
And-
some of the competitors in Australia have some of the best recovery techniques
Yeah.
in the world. Like look at all the guys that go and run recovery at King of the Hammers for the Americans and that from Australia.
We've had these discussions with insurers and AASA, who you know, they're the ones that are sanctioning the event, and our risk assessment and our medics. We talk about recoveries, recovery crews, and you know, at first the local police were like, oh, you know, do we get the SES in to do recovery? And I'm like, no. we'd be able to teach them how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't get
So
the SES in that.
there's no one better equipped to perform a recovery than one of our competition vehicles.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean? We come in with some of them have got 4-wheel steering.
Exactly.
You know,
$15,000 winch.
Yeah, and big winches, and they know what their car can do, and they know what that other car is capable of doing.
Yep.
And the competitors, you do a lot of recoveries in those sort of situations over the years. You're a repeat offender of it, whereas you can read all the theory in the world on how to do a recovery, but until you're, in that situation that a lot of us have been put into, actually need some experience here.
Yeah.
And a winch, like you've said before earlier, you can end up with a hand inside a winch, especially with some of these competition winches out there. 4 motors and that sort of thing. This ain't your standard low mount that's bolted to anyone's D-Max. Like these things pull some serious power
They just gear them
and
up.
speed, and like there's so much you can do that you can be much better off saying to 5 navvies who have dealt with these winches for the last 10 years, go, hey guys, can you guys come up here and get this recovery sorted?
Yeah.
That's a much safer option.
That's right. We've actually had to factor that into our rules, because you can't have a set of rules that cover all the possibilities.
No.
When it comes to safety and stuff.
The book
like
would
that.
never end.
The encyclopedias just aren't big enough.
Yeah.
No.
And so you have to bring in common sense, and you got to try and write that into a rule. And the common sense has to factor in how fast the winches are getting, how big the tyres are getting, the terrain. Is the car perched up so that it could roll backwards? Is it perched so that it could roll forwards, or is it perched so that it could tip over sideways?
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
What's safe, what's not safe. You've got to read the situation to work out what's safe and what's not safe. So you have to call safety based on what's reasonable.
Approach the situation.
And when what's a sensible safety. And that's where the marshals are briefed on making sure things are safe. You can't just say, rule number 32 point whatever.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And the marshal's got to be allowed to say, hey, that's not safe. And it could be that the navvy's got to get behind the car to get something out of the toolbox, but he's got to get between the car and a rock.
Yeah.
And
don't do it.
It's one thing if the car is stuck in a hole.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. But it's another if he's hanging there and he's got his foot on the brake and it might edge backwards and squash him.
Yeah.
So
Just don't go
the
behind
marshal
the car.
has to be given the power to say, stop.
Yeah.
Don't go in there. That's not going to be safe.
Don't do it
And
again.
he's got to be able to call safety warnings based on reading the circumstances.
All the same as like our marshal, if a car leans up, they've got to have that. Being around full driving helps us to, I shouldn't walk up and lean in the window to check if they're okay. Just take a step back and be like, righto, we're going to have to assess it. So if I go and put a hand on that car, is it going to go tumbling down the hill? Like there's so much that can happen.
Yeah. And then there's the classic, just because a car tips over, they might still be racing.
Yeah, exactly right.
And we say to the spectators at the driver briefing and the marshals, but the marshals know this, but the spectators, just because a car's rolled over, don't all run to it.
No.
And think that you're going to lend a hand.
Yeah, no.
Because that's outside assistance.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to get themselves back up and keep racing.
We did
and normally they do.
The weekend that we did Triple S in the lead up to that first Cliffy, we shot up a hill, and came out the top and rolled the car over. And Mick and I managed to self-recover it and finish the stage in time still. So you just don't want people coming under the bunting,
I
or the
love
theoretical
that
bunting.
about off-road racing, the safety that's been brought into it in the way of harnesses, roll cages, the way people build their cars, everything like that. The fact that, you can bin it, get out, hook a winch cable on, roll the car back over and finish. Like I think that's an awesome aspect.
That was supposed to be a winch hill too. And I said to Mick, because we got to walk this stage, and then I said to him at the start line, I said, what do you reckon, drive it? He goes, I'll let you know when we get to the bottom. And then we're driving, and you can feel his body language, so I just went like that. Pulled the harnesses down. I said, you drive it? He's like, yeah. We almost got at the top. Mick Love did the exact same thing on the same hill, weekend, just but out. So, but it's
well, we love sponsor stickers on the underside of cars for a reason.
I don't mind putting them there. You've had a lot of sponsors over the years.
Yeah,
a lot of sponsors, a lot of big names from the industry. But what we came on in 2019,
Yeah.
How's that relationship been from the standpoint as an event organizer
with
Superior? Yeah.
It's been, you know what, I mean, for me, Cliffhanger is a personal endeavour.
Yeah.
And it's like my sandpit.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get the big boys coming to play in my sandpit, there is nothing more rewarding in your career or your quest, in whatever you choose to do for a job. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when the big sponsors come along, that's how I feel. It's like my feet don't touch the ground.
Yeah.
And it spurs me on and makes me aim higher.
Yeah.
And to have Superior come along has been, and Mick's willingness and his support. He said no to nothing.
Yeah.
And I've sometimes rung him and said, thinking of doing this. He goes, fucking do it. And, you know, and he's been a big inspiration.
Yeah.
And I love how they've helped shape the sport of winch truck racing, but also from the buggy side of things as well.
Yeah.
And that the credibility it's given the sport and to Cliffhanger, and the confidence it gives to me to keep going the way I'm going.
Yeah.
And it inspires me to just keep aiming higher and higher.
Yeah.
And I think that's the effect it's had.
It's a nice perspective because I've been at Superior for almost 10 years, Mitch, almost 8, but I still walk into work and it still just feels like a large collective of blokes just having fun doing full drive stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel serious. And then when people from outside are like you've just said, like, oh, you feel like we're one of the big boys, it's like, oh, we're just a bunch of blokes having fun.
It is funny when you say it like that. Like when I started, we still had dirt floors in the shed.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Like
just?
it was half the old shed
was still dirt.
But you look at the rest of the four-wheel drive industry, and like I work in the four-wheel drive industry. I've got my headlight business, I've got my suspension business, and I've got Cliffhanger, so there's 3 prongs.
Yeah.
A lot of it's corporate. A lot of people in the four-wheel drive industry are owned by mega publicly listed companies, run by officers in CBDs. They're not into the four-wheel drive. They don't know how to pull a winch rope. They don't know. They each have their little gurus that know about tuning a shock absorber or a suspension, a coil spring, and how long is the shock got to be, and all that good stuff. But not a lot of people in the industry are really, really into the serious off-road racing, which you guys are. You've got a whole business full of them.
Yeah.
So
there'd be businesses where you'd roll into their car park and you'd see a whole lot of new Ford Rangers and Hiluxes and fantastic four-wheel drives. I love working with them. But if you roll into Superior, I guarantee you 90% of the staff are driving a GQ, a GU, or an 80 series, and mostly pretty busted because everyone's using them and having fun. So we've got a nice playground locally with the Glasshouse Mountains, but a lot of the guys live and breathe what we do for work. It's not just a job.
Yeah.
It's lifestyle.
That's what makes it as well coming into like sponsoring an event like Cliffhanger. It's not just we sponsor an event, like send us your analytics on how our brand did with your
put our name on every car. That's how it works.
Yeah, we're coming. There's like Mick and Angus are racing, and I'm coming. My brother's coming, who's our machinist apprentice at 34 years old. And there's a heap of us guys like, oh, when's Cliffhanger on, or when asking about other events, because we all want to come out. We want to enjoy it, and that's another thing that helping people like yourself, giving back to a platform that gives people enjoyment, but it also gives us enjoyment. It's not just we want to see what we get back from you by sponsorship. It's like, hey, we're coming to have fun too, because it's what we love.
You get to see how our products are faring. From my side, I get to see the way people are using them, which is great. But when things go wrong, like in 21 where we killed the motor, I mean, that just turned into 4 more days of us hanging out with everyone, all the spectators, and just having a good time watching full drives, having a laugh. It's just so good. So, it's good that it works both ways for all of us.
Yeah.
We love being involved with Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's it's going to be tough for it to be the last one.
Yeah.
And it's already pulling at me.
Yeah.
Already people are saying, you know, how could you possibly end it now? And you're saying, well, it's big because it is the last one.
Yeah.
20 years,
You know,
that's
if
it.
I was to pass it on and someone else was to run it, well, it's only Hobbsy's last one.
Yeah.
Which is not the same.
And Hobbsy's,
you know what I mean?
Hobbsy's
I
a
do-
large percentage
Yeah.
of what Cliffhanger is and how. If you passed it to someone else, it would just be so sad to
I don't
see
think it'd be the same.
Wayne. Yeah,
It'd be
hasn't got
like it'd be like giving away the family dog.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I feel
You
like
can't
it
do
is. You
that.
can't sell the family pet.
No.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Probably your dog, not mine.
I love my dogs. Dogs are good.
Yeah.
But you know, and so I'm you know, but we've been doing it for, you know, since 2005.
Yeah.
And I was doing Outback challenges before that, which is how I got started on it. And you know, I was doing an Outback challenge, and I was running a I think I was with Roger Smith in the Yellow Range Rover, and we did an alternator or something, and we called in, and we met Neil Smith. He's not with us any longer, but we met Neil. He was the auto elec in town. He fixed the alternator. The next year, I was running my own. Was with ProComp at the time, and we ran the ProComp GU on airbags. And,
that's wild out there.
It's a key move.
Yeah. And
How was that?
And we finished on the rears. We didn't finish on the front. I won't sell fronts for patrols. Get it?
Yeah.
I
Not
never sell
happening.
airbags for the front of a patrol. But for the back, absolutely perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also had an electrical problem. So I went and saw Neil. And Neil's like, you know, you should go and see my brother's property, you know, and that was Cootawundi out at Whitecliffs. And I'm like, do I, you know, and I was friends with Paul and Sharon who are running the Outback. But, you know, I'm like, turns out there's this guy that's got a really big property and you should go and see him because he's at me saying you've got to go and see it. And then the following year I called in to see Neil just to say hi.
Yeah.
And hopefully I don't see you during the week. And he's like, when are you coming out to see the property? And I'm like, it's not really my thing, man. You know, I'm not the organizer of the Outback, you know. And I'm like, but you know, I was running Navrun with Rudy. So Rudy and I have been running Navruns for a long time.
It's still going.
Still going now.
yeah.
Keen.
Right? They're well over 100 now.
It's unreal.
And but we were 7 or 8 years into Navrun at the time. And so we're like, well, look, I'll come out and check it out, and there might be potential. We might run a Navrun out here or something like that, you know, and keep the guy happy. And it was like, wow, this is a really big block of land. It's, you know, if you can imagine, you know, all of Brisbane fitting in it, or all of Sydney, including Sydney Harbour, fitting in the one block of land. You know, Melbourne with all of Port Phillip Bay. You know, this is how big these blocks of land are.
They're big blocks.
And the terrain was just outstandingly good. And I'm like, Paul, Sharon, Outback Challenge, it's really good. You're really good. Should go and look at it. And they go, you know, we're really busy. We've got lots of other properties and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, Rudy, why don't we just do something different? We'll make it 6 months apart. You know, and I did a bit of a ring around, and I can't even remember what we were going to call it at the time, but it was only going to be it was like 3 days or 4 days. And we had connections within the game, and and it was the Glenn who's now in 24/7 off-road 24/7, and he's like, oh, you know, we should get onto it, and we should, you know, call it Cliffhanger. And then that was the birth. And that's how it started, quite by accident.
So was the first one 3 days?
I think it was 4 days, and it was in November. So
she would have been warm out there.
Yeah, it was. And we built it around Melbourne's Cup weekend.
Ah, okay. Yep.
So
Great idea. Good time to get out of town.
And so we ran it then for a while, and then we crept it to September because November was too hot. And
it's footy final season, but
I know. And then Outback Challenge petered off a bit, and they were traditionally April, May, which was the best time of year to race.
Oh, that's great.
And it was, okay, well, if they're not going to race in April, May, we'll race in April, May. And so we moved to the April, May time slot. And And that's how we sort of got going, and here we are 20 years later.
Yeah. And then the last two have been back in that October sort of time slot.
October. Yeah. So and that was, we had to work around sheep and shearing because it is
Makes
an active
sense. It is.
sheep station.
The main office is in the shearer shed, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do like that shed actually.
So the problem with the sheep is that in all of March they're mustering sheep and shearing sheep, and then in April, and that goes through to a bit of April, and so that sort of banged into us setting up an event and running an event and clashing with shearing. And then we're like, right, well, if we bring it forward and make it before shearing starts, then we're doing all our work in February, which is too hot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And we needed longer daylight. So if we pushed it April, we go to May, days are too short. So, so it gets dark too early.
It's a tough.
You don't have enough hours in the day to get cars up rocks. So we had to go for longer daylight. And so we said, okay, well, let's make it 6 months later. We'll go for that September. And then we're just trying to juggle it so it doesn't clash with footy finals and car races and horse races and all that sort of stuff.
It's a tough time of year.
That's it. Everything starts
footy
to end,
finals, Bathurst. I mean, that's a really hectic
the
time.
Big Bash starts to kick off.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, that's why it's then.
Yeah.
It's because we it clashed with shearing, and the only way we could avoid shearing was go for really short daylight hours. Or go for really hot February.
Late in the year.
So we had to make it later in the year. So,
that's all right. It works well.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic, especially like the 2-year thing, as much as it's ending this year, unfortunately. But I think as well, that 2-year, when you started, that was 17?
About 17.
Yeah, 17 and 19. That's, I think that was a big game changer as well in helping teams be ready.
It helps mentally.
Because having a 2-year gap of, like, some guys that are doing this, they are working a day job. They need to save up their holidays to be able to have travel time off and that.
It meant that I could run a business. I had a year of running a business without interrupting
without
it.
3 months of disruption.
Every year. There was so many other challenges. I mean, I had kids at school and all that sort of stuff too. So, you got to try and balance all of that.
Exactly.
And then the lead time, that 3 months of the year, was just too much for every year.
Exactly.
And then it came around too quick. I was forever asking sponsors, do you want to sponsor us again?
And
no sooner had we finished an event, I'm saying, do you want to sponsor us again? You know what I mean? It was like, God, here we go again.
So
the September time slot, that's put us in smack bang in the school holidays, at least for Queensland. I don't know, the southern states, they pay a lot of attention to the southern states, but
there is holidays in September, but I'm not sure when.
That's the week of Cliffhanger this year. That's the first week of the Queensland school holidays. So that works well because you can load the family up, drag them down.
And it's perfect for me, the wife, because she's not a desert person. She's very much from Melbourne City. She's mother-in-law's coming up, taking my spot in the bed, and I'm going to the desert. It's perfect.
That's fantastic. It's great. So what day should everyone start rolling in? The Cliffy town.
Okay, the competitors will sort of rock up on the probably around the Wednesday or the Thursday.
Yeah.
So racing starts on Sunday.
Okay.
And we're going to want to do, so the prologue's on the Sunday. And so we're racing Sunday night. You want to be finished all your testing and tuning and all that sort of stuff on the Saturday.
Yeah.
And then I think usually what happens is Friday night becomes a bit of a party night because you've got Saturday to recover and you're not racing Saturday. You want to get all your scrutineering done. I think scrutineering should be done. Most people should get themselves scrutineered on the Thursday and the Friday. You can't go on the test track until you've been scrutineered. The scrutineering's a safety checking type routine.
Yeah.
And you want to get yourself through scrutineering and do a bit of testing and wash out a few bugs and then just kick back and enjoy and soak it up.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of thinking that, the Thursday is about busy. That's when everyone comes flooding in.
Yep.
I mean, early would be Tuesday, Wednesday. So
it's pretty early.
That would be that'd probably be too early. You'd run out of things to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't have everyone just driving all over the property.
Exactly.
And all that
Still
sort of
a
stuff.
working station. So.
I'm busy then anyway because I've got to show the marshals. I'm wanting the marshal leaders to be turning up on the Tuesday and the Wednesday.
So you can show them.
Because I've got to show them their stages.
Yeah.
And then they've got to show their marshals when they all front up.
Yep.
They've got to take them back out to their stages and show them their stages. So all of that's going on in the lead up. And the advantage of getting there earlier is that you get a good campsite.
Set up a good camp, get the car scrutineered, buttoned up, make sure she's right, and then actually have some time to relax because that 12 to 14 hour drive up, like you said, from Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and the stress for the week leading up to it, it would be nice to have a day or two to just
Chill.
I think that's
reset
awesome.
before you hit it.
Having that, we can enjoy the desert and the quietness for a day and have a beer before we go and ruin our car for a week.
Red dirt therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
It is.
It's therapy. It's
It
the
is
blue
like-
sky red dirt therapy.
It
It's an unloading of all your work stresses and
Yeah.
chaoses at home with traffic and all that, work commitments and all that sort of stuff. To be able to get out there and you got the red dirt, blue sky.
Yeah.
It's nice and it's
Watch the 10 billion stars that you can actually see instead
Yeah.
of having a lit up city around you.
Yep. And then, and just the goats and the kangaroos and all the nature
Goats.
that's around.
Everywhere.
So many goats.
Yeah.
So many
Goats.
goats. And they
There's-
don't farm goats.
There's a lot of goats now, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
A lot more than normal
It's
because
had a couple of wet years, haven't they?
yeah, they've had a few years where the goat money has dropped down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't make financial sense to round them up. And I mean, to a degree, the farmers are rounding up goats, but not like
they were. They're
not like they were.
Yep.
And so what they're doing is that they're trying to not encourage, but they're basically trying to make them sustainable.
Okay.
And so that the goat population builds up, especially in the hills.
Yep.
And so there's a lot more goats.
So
As soon as you start,
because there's plenty of.
no, and I'll tell you
There's
what,
a lot of
it's
goats.
synonymous of Cobar.
Yeah.
Because when you're driving, if you did the drive from Sydney to Adelaide, it's that by the time you get to Cobar and before you get to Wilcannia, it's like, my God, I've just driven past on the Barrier Highway. How many tens of thousands of goats?
Well, that was
everywhere.
And that's where we're racing, goat country.
everyone said to me, everyone's like, oh, there's so many goats in Cobar. The first time I went, I was like, oh, this would be cool. But like every year you race there, you like come over a crest and there's another 50 of them. There's another 50 of them. Where are they all coming from?
Yeah.
And what are they eating?
That year we were down there in 2019, it was so droughted out. I remember when we left Cobar coming out, we're at the servo. It was one of the days we went back into town. The lady at the servo said, it's kind of lucky you guys are here at the moment because we're leaving at night. She was like, it's lucky you guys are here at the moment. She's like, the goats and kangaroos don't move. She's like, they're so malnourished at the moment because there's nothing out here. They just stand and watch because they don't have any energy.
I remember you telling me the property owners were actually cutting down tree branches for their sheep, but they were also feeding the goats and watering the goats.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it was horrible
Mark-
that year.
If you
Mark
can
Thomas.
imagine, in that drought year, the average temperature every day was about 50 degrees Celsius.
I believe it.
It got hotter than that. We had a
believe
56 degree day when we were there, but it was about 50 normally. It's terribly depressing heat.
Yeah.
The poor station owners start the day by jumping on the motorbike and making sure there's water at all the troughs and the bores and all that sort of stuff. Some of the water's for their stock, but they do it just so that there's water for the wildlife.
Yeah.
The goats and
Yeah,
the lizards and the birds and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Yep.
Kangaroos.
And the kangaroos, they're so nice. The people that own the properties out there. Then they come back and he goes out on the chainsaw and he cuts the branches off mulga trees, but he's got to be selective so that it's sustainable. He doesn't want to chop the whole tree down because the tree dies.
Yeah.
He's got to take a branch off.
Yep.
And he goes to another tree and takes another branch off. He goes to another tree and takes another branch off. And the cattle hear the chainsaw and the cattle will come.
They know.
And then they'll eat the leaves off the mulga tree and that's enough to keep them alive.
Yeah.
It doesn't put on any condition. It doesn't help them grow. It just stops them from dying.
Maintains.
Yeah.
And then he'll come back and he'll sharpen the chain on his bike, and he'll sharpen the chainsaw,
Exactly.
and he'll put another tank of fuel in his chainsaw and strap it back to the bike. But then he'll jump in the ute, take a big square bale of hay, but one of the big ones, totally fills a tandem trailer, and he'll take that out to the sheep, and he'll put that out for the sheep. He'll put half of that out, and then he'll drive back, and he'll have a bit of lunch. It's still 50 degrees.
It's hot.
Yeah.
And then after lunch, back on the motorbike, does more mulga trees,
Yeah.
you know, and he gets back from that, and then he's got to, he does the other half of the bale for the sheep.
Yeah.
And those bales are hay. So he's going through a bale almost a day,
So they're
And-
big bales too.
and they're big bales.
It's a lot of hay.
They're going through hay by the B double.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
That's
$20,000
Yeah.
for a B double of hay, you know. And this is not. All this is doing is keeping the stock alive.
exactly right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And in the meantime, the stock is so weak that the pigs are attacking the sheep at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they go out and they're finding sheep, you know, half dead because the pigs have attacked them at night time.
Yep.
The sheep haven't got the energy to defend themselves, and the crows are eating the eyes and all this sort of stuff of
Yep.
live sheep. And it's terrible.
Yeah, it's
and
horrible.
it's heartbreaking for the property owners. And they've got to do all of that in 50 degrees. And so when you see they've had a bit of rain, it's so nice
Yeah.
to know that, you know, they don't have to be feeding out in summer, and
Yeah.
that they don't have that trauma of trying to keep their animals alive.
Yeah.
And,
And it's crazy to see how actually resilient that bushland is, to go from absolutely nothing and there's burrs everywhere that as soon as they get water on them,
Things
they
are still
just,
coming out of clothes.
but they turn, once they got water on them, they turn straight into green.
Yeah. Believe it or not,
grass.
the burrs are good.
Yeah, yeah.
You
it's-
can eat burrs.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll take burr in a drought.
Yeah, yeah.
and
not
salt
eating
bush.
burrs,
It's
not
funny
eating
how we all
burrs.
pay extra for our salt bush fed lamb, when the salt bush is what we put the stock into when there's nothing else to eat.
Yeah.
And we pay extra for that.
Yeah.
But it's really weird. After they've had some rain, and you think nothing could live through that, when they've had a big deluge of rain, the frogs come out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Where have they
Where
bury
have they
themselves?
been?
Yeah,
They
just
bury
bury
themselves.
right
Yeah.
down. Yeah, it's
And
amazing.
they've had themselves set in concrete for the last, 3 or 4 years. And it's bizarre on a wet night
They just,
that
yeah.
the frogs come out.
I know that 20 going from 19 where it was so heavily drought stricken, like you just described it, 2021, it was like, it's green and there's water everywhere.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
animals everywhere and goats.
We face these as all different challenges, because when it's drought stricken, we've got dust,
Yeah.
really bad dust.
Yes, we do.
You can't drive. We've had to cancel stages because they weren't safe, because the dust was so bad,
so bad. Yeah.
and it just hangs if there's no air.
Yeah, don't know breeze.
So yeah, we've got in the swamp Kana. So it's an old swamp, and we drive a motor Kana course around all the trees. But because it's swampy and it's sort of silty ground,
Yep.
but it's rock hard, except when it's dry, it becomes a really fine bull dust.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
it's unfortunate we just can't do that sort of stage at
No.
night.
No.
It's just adapting, isn't it? Adapting to what you've got
but then when we
available
have
to
a
you.
year of rain and we've got good ground cover, you can't see the ground.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can't see the stumps, you can't see the rocks, you
Yeah,
can't see the
yeah.
washouts.
Yeah.
Some
yeah.
people
And-
can't see them when there's no grass either, so it's not
Michael
exclusive.
Hayes can't see a fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or spectators, apparently.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
You guys had some big wet years too.
We had a
Oh.
really wet year.
Was that 17?
16.
or
So I've got the DVD of 16. Oh,
Yeah.
That is.
I love
watching
that
the
video.
motor car,
That's a great DVD.
It's such a good DVD. It's just
Yeah.
everyone is on limiter the
Yeah.
whole week.
Yeah,
Like,
and the rooster tail.
Yeah.
Oh,
And, that presents challenges.
Yeah.
I had to reinvent stages halfway through the week.
Yeah.
I'll bet you did.
And we, for a while, we couldn't cross the creek because the creek flooded.
Yes, that's
And
right.
so we had to keep on a certain side of the creek, and we had to
Oh,
try
the
and make
campsite.
stages on that side.
Yeah. I was winching up rocky, just that big rocky outcrop behind camp and that sort of thing, making stages up there to keep racing flowing.
And up on the top of the hill, the rocks were sinking into the ground.
Jesus Christ.
You know,
Because of the water.
just because of the water. You'd
That's
be driving
unreal.
along, and you're driving over rocks that are bigger than footballs, so maybe sort of basketball size.
Yeah.
Driving, and they're not. You don't feel them
Because they're just pushing
because
in.
they're pushing into the ground.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember the one stage had a bit of a loop and then you had to cut across a tiny little creek and up a sand dune, and it was compulsory ground anchor. And just watching guys just try and set the ground anchor 20 times and then just go, nah, we're calling the stage, because they'd just drag through the ground.
I didn't
and then
have
some guys would run to the tree and hook a root, and they'd be able to get it up out of the ground. Yeah, that was a wild year, but made for a great DVD.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be great to still do DVDs. It's just that they've become a thing of the past.
That's exactly right. It's everything's YouTube based.
Yeah,
like this is going to be an hour-ish episode, and it's all going to be on YouTube. Like it's
and that's the move. Like, it's not so much that people's attention span is short. It's that you have the ability to be watching something and then go, I'll quickly stop that. I'm going to go mow the lawn or hang the washing out, come back to it. And I think that's a big thing for people, or just being able to see the thing that they love doing from the comfort of their home, like full driving. Not so much full driving, like the racing. You always go on camping. It's always to be able to access that from your lounge room. TV so easy, and it's worthwhile. You look at the evolution of it over the last few years with King of the Hammers broadcasting, and all the winch racing, that getting YouTube videos. It's been very good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's sort of. It's possible that after 2025, so 2026 and 27, life after Cliffy for me is probably going to. I'm not going to try and pursue a social media influencer type role. I don't want to do that.
I'd subscribe to that.
No, I mean, okay. What I've achieved, I've done organically just by running an event and doing the hard yards.
Yeah.
But I'd like to host some drives, like convoy style drives, where we say, you know what? I got a sneaky feeling I know the owner of the gorge run from Mad Max Outback Challenge.
Yeah.
Why don't we round up 10 cars, 10 really good cars. Yeah. I'm talking top 10 Cliffhanger type thing. Mm-hmm. And we have a little video where I know we can do it in 5 hours, but it's not the mission.
Yeah.
We'll do it for a weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll camp somewhere. And we'll get some camera people along, and we'll do we'll pick the bad lines.
Yeah.
You've got to pick the bad lines.
And we'll say, do you remember this wall? You know?
Yeah.
And here's a picture of me doing it back in 2001 or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we'll have some fun drives like that, or we might have another drive where we go out to the sand dunes of Dunedin, and and we go for a fang out there, or we might have another one where we go and do the Mickey Thompson Trail at Mount Gap, where it's just one big winch wall after the next and after the next, and big gooly rocks. And
go to WA and get out on the beach.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, yeah.
But so I'm sort of thinking just to sort of keep the name alive. And just have fun. There's not much of a business model there, but it's fun and it's passion.
And that's what I was about to say. You get the difference of, we're not just using a race car for racing, because that's something that kind of does hurt us here in Australia, that we have to spend all this money building a car that can go race Cliffhanger or something like that. But then if you get caught using that in the bush, you are going to get fines, the car's getting impounded.
You're going to jail.
That impoundment is what stops me, because for $500 I'd pay it.
Exactly.
But
I know.
It's cheap, right? It's cheaper than getting it roadworthy. But it's naughty, and it's the
And that's the thing,
you're
is
right. We've got nowhere we can really take our race trucks for a play.
No, that's exactly right. And there is some amazing full drive park owners and that will allow unregistered cars to come in and that sort of thing. But again, when you run a business like that, you have to have a duty of care as a full drive park.
The insurance costs are through the roof.
The insurance triples to have someone turn up who's got say it's CCDA or AASA or CAMS approved roll cage. It's much safer than letting Jim Bob in his 1998 Hilux turn up and go full driving up this track.
Yeah.
But the insurance people in the suits, they don't care. That's unregistered. It's not roadworthy. Don't bring it in.
Like I said before, we tipped the Ultra 4 over, rolled it over a couple of times, got out, recovered it and finished. I've rolled over in GQs and 80 series, and I'll tell you what, I'd just put me in the Ultra 4 any day for safety.
Exactly right.
I'm
But
not getting out of the other
because
cars
it doesn't have rego and it's not roadworthy.
It's
someone in an insurance company says, "Oh, that's not safe."
bureaucracy at its
It's like,
finest,
what?
isn't it?
Yeah, and you know what? That's scary too, because
It
if
is.
Yeah.
if there was I don't know, if ever there was a situation where we're faced before a coroner, and they but he rolled over, and I'm like, what? But it's normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to
That's
us,
part- that's
that's
part
a
of
very
the-
normal
That's
activity.
part of the sport.
Yeah, exactly.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? And
Yep.
I'm like, but I mean, look, being in the race truck is actually the safest place to be.
Oh, tell me
100%.
about it.
And
Never mad about that.
Yeah.
yeah, and we do everything we do to try and prevent things from happening. I mean, we try not to have knee-jerk reactions to little things that we don't want to create rules for the sake of having rules.
Yeah.
No.
And we look at it. You say, well, hang on, this event's 20 years old. We've got enough history to know,
What?
if something happened at another event, that we're not going to just immediately change our rules because hang
Doesn't
on,
always apply.
we're 20 years in.
That hasn't happened here. So
We've got a gut feel of what's safe and what's not safe.
Yeah.
There'd be no better expert than us.
yeah.
And the competitors.
But we brought in Rally Safe because we had to stop people from going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We had a situation where we had a head-on collision, and that's because we had two people going the wrong way, and one of them was going the wrong way.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And I'm like, right, well, how do we stop that?
Yeah.
Well, Big Brother's watching.
And Rally Safe's been awesome. I thoroughly enjoy, as someone in the car, I enjoy having it there. It's a peace of mind when you're that remote. It is a good little tool. And there's been other events that we've done where I've sort of said, can you invest in this? And it's like, the competitors don't want to pay for it. I was like, you don't understand the gain we're going to have with this thing.
You know what? I'd be interested to see what Starlink can do to the sport in another 5 to 10 years' time.
Oh, everyone will have an iPhone-sized thing on their
being,
dash.
I reckon it would be cheaper to run Starlink in the race car than it will be to run Rally Safe in the race
Probably
car.
will be.
And Starlink will be capable of managing our waypoints.
Yep.
And telling us where they are. We got communication. We can have phone calls with the cars.
Yeah.
We know where they are.
You know when a car's
I mean, we've
stopped.
got a lot of this stuff on apps. There's Find My Phone and and where where's our 18-year-old daughter and we got that technology to apply to race cars.
Yep.
And I don't think we're that far away from having satellite technology using something like Starlink, and and watch
it's
this space
doable.
because
Yeah.
I think it's achievable.
Well, that's
doable.
it. Look at especially at Cliffhanger and some other events don't have it, but GPS systems that some of these cars are turning up with. They've got a screen this big in just to find waypoints. Someone at some point is going to turn that into, you've got a waypoint that's actually just a computer in your car. It's not just a GPS. You'll be able to jump on there and go, are you okay? No, I'm not.
Well, that's what
Send
that's
it
what the
to
Rally
here.
Safe does. See, we got a flat in Prologue one year and pulled up, and we're out there and we're mucking around the car, getting the jack off, and they went, oh shit, the Rally Safe, and I ran back and it was freaking out at me because we hadn't responded. And of course, from the shearing shed, these guys were sitting there going, car 777's not moved for about 10 minutes and not responding. What do we have to do? So we're fine, just hit okay.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, sweet, fine. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
that's what I'm saying. Is
Having
you
that in
take it
mind.
away from that one word answer. You're going to be changing a flap, or
We can have conversations.
Yeah.
We could be like, okay, what's wrong with you? Oh, okay, I've broken a steering box.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah,
they
you're
can say,
staying
oh,
there.
and I've got one in the grey box at the front of my trailer.
Yeah.
And so we can say, right, okay, well, we'll bring out one of your support crew cars with your steering box.
Exactly.
How do you do that on Rally Safe?
No, exactly right. Yeah. You do get that simple answer. Like, simple answer is, there is, I guess, with a Rally Safe style of thing, you can, if you're, say, the navigator's hurt, the driver's okay, he can go. Send help now.
I believe you guys prompt the messages from your end with Rally Safe, and we just get a yes or no response option, so you can put some fairly detailed questions.
Yeah,
in there,
we've
I
got
guess.
like a tree of questions to ask.
Okay.
Depending on, so you might press hazard. It's like, right, what, you just overheated?
Yeah, is it cooked?
Or
You bet your
has
Conrod?
someone lost a limb?
Yeah.
So we need to know, okay, is it an emergency? Yes or no? We're working with yes, no's or okays.
Yep.
And Is it an emergency? No. Okay. Are you broken down? Yes. Do you have
medical.
to, and there'll be a series of questions that will lead to the next question to try and establish, are you okay to wait until after the stage ends?
What does your response need to be as an organiser?
Yeah, and then we can work out whether, and you're happy knowing that we're communicating with you and we know where you are.
Yeah.
And then we can say, well, we'll be there at the end of the stage.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, it might be an emergency. And it might be a medical emergency. Someone might have got burnt, someone might have got squashed, whatever. And it's like, okay, how bad is it? Do we, we'll start with, do we have to cancel the stage? And you'll go, yes, right. Do you need medics
That's bad
now?
news.
Yes. Do you need, is it urgent? They're there really quickly? Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll immediately stop the stage. So everybody's rally saves,
just
like that.
Yeah.
Ping,
Yep.
And and the message comes up, proceed to this given waypoint.
Yep.
So you'll have 30 cars come straight to you.
Yep.
And all their first aid kits and all that sort of stuff. But you don't want to call,
We don't need a care flight just yet.
But you don't want to have said that because you had a flat tyre.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I've got a sore wrist, or
My muesli bar melted in my saddlebag and I can't eat it.
Yeah, no, right. I'm running out of lollies.
That's where I see it going in the future. Of you're pulled up, from an organiser standpoint, are you okay as a quick message, and they would be able to maybe hit you back with just a flat, so you can go, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I can ignore that for now.
Starlink will give you the ability to broadcast and receive that. You're still going to need some sort of a unit like Rally Safe.
Mick will say, download another tune for the engine.
Shut down cylinder 7 because she bent.
Yeah. We got this big flat coming up. I've just seen it. I want an extra 30 horsepower.
We got a few
exactly.
little tricks in the car for that. But it's.
But but Rally Safe has been absolutely sensational.
Yeah.
It means that we no longer have to look for numbers on a tree.
Yes.
There's advantages there. First of all, there's nothing more frustrating than not being able to find a number, and it can be a big number and you just don't see it because it's, you're
or you
racing.
pull up and
you got a helmet on and you got a
some
helmet
other blokes
on.
Pulled up next. That's a hard one for us because generally, by the way of travel, the GPS point is normally on the left-hand side, the passenger side of the vehicle, so the navvy can go, it's that, bang into the GPS. Doesn't really help when I'm on the right-hand side of the car.
Yeah.
And Mick's there, and he's got to read it to me, and he can't see, and he's like,
Yep.
It's so that presents
So you got
challenges.
that. Then you've got the concept of if there's a number on a tree, people can cheat.
Yep.
Because you can stop and give numbers to other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But you can't do that with Rally
I've never thought of that.
So that rules that out, and now it means that you have to get there.
Or people taking the number off the tree.
Or taking them.
We had that when we were competing.
I've experienced that in the
I've
past.
seen that.
Yeah, we had it at Glass House.
We know who's done that because it's one of three people.
It's you finished, righto.
Yeah. I'll give you a tip. Don't do that early.
Yeah. Did that happen on one of the Jeff Rampton?
Yeah, one of Jeff's, we were competing for an iPod or something at Glasshouse Mountains, and we did it in my mum's Captiva. That's how easy a GPSing it was. It was no full driving, nothing. And they were taking the numbers off the tree to win an iPod. It's like, it's cool, guys. Just leave it on the tree.
It's easy to do a GPS nav run when the Captiva is your mum's car.
Yeah.
There's a disregard for its well-being.
That's almost like a rental, isn't it?
It's like a rental. It's like Days of Thunder.
Yeah. So Rally Safe has made it a lot easier to run the waypoint grab stages.
Yep.
It's got the warnings of oncoming cars.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And that's fantastic. It's got the Big Brother's watching me, so if I'm going backwards, I know that I can set it up so that I can have a waypoint on a track, and you must be going through it in that direction.
Yeah.
And if you go through it in that direction,
you're in trouble.
I get pinged. I get an alert comes to my phone, says car 40 something has just driven the wrong way on this course.
Yeah.
Well, he's immediately disqualified from the stage.
100%.
All of a sudden, he's honest.
Yeah.
Can't cheat.
Oh, yeah.
And keeps it safe.
Yeah,
Stops
definitely.
people going the wrong way on the course.
The close car alert's a great one because as much as a navvy you try and look around you and see and be super aware of your surroundings, you can get, quite heavily involved in the GPS and trying to sort something out or an issue. When that thing goes red, you're like a fighter pilot. You're looking, you're like, where is this other car? And you see, okay, Dari, they're going away from us now. Yeah, we're blue, we're good again.
And
so good.
They have sent the benchmark with safety. They use it at Targa, and they use it at a lot of international races. And so, you know, there has been instances where the Rally Safe team have been called in to give evidence of things, and they've been asked to, you know, G-forces of certain accidents, and you know, they can tell you all of that.
Wow.
And
It does register
the technology is
G-forces.
amazing. I just think that, you know, they're on the cusp of, they've got this rival now with, you know,
there's a few.
Starlink.
Starlink, and it just happens to be owned by the richest man in the world. So the
yeah,
technology
but
has...
I don't know. I think Rally Safe will be around for a while yet. And the other great thing about
system.
Rally Safe, it can manage the starts and finish times of stages.
That's the best one.
And so I can be given a spreadsheet at the end of the day. Rally Safe back in Tasmania, the guys can email me my score sheet.
Yeah. Wow, and it's awesome. And
That's
like
awesome.
you
You know,
said,
it's got everyone's start and finish times.
Yeah,
like
like
waypoint
awesome.
achievements.
you said earlier, like, you know, the night stage, you got to get 100 cars through. We'll just, car 777, we're leaving at 7:55. Sweet, what's the time? 6:30. Oh, we've got heaps of time.
Yeah.
You can sit around, muck around, put your stuff together towards 7:30, 1:45, roll around to your start point, and you can get a couple of minute countdown on the Rally Safe. You're like, we're on it. You know, you don't have to sit in that nauseating line of traffic, because let's be honest, 100 V8 cars idling with no mufflers does turn the stomach when you're in it for a while. It really gets to me. But
We also, it stops people from playing tricks on the marshals. Well, I'm not saying it's, okay.
not
In the
intentionally.
past, we've had someone say, the marshals sort of said in the past, you know, with stopwatches, right, you'll be starting at, you know, 1:15. But it's dusty, 1 minute intervals or 2 minute intervals. And so someone will be coming and go, oh, you know, we can't start yet, it's dusty. And the marshal goes, well, too bad, it's the same as everybody else. You know, and then they like, oh, hang on a minute, the clutch is slipping, we just have to adjust this, or we've just got to adjust that, we're not quite ready to start. And they try and pull one over the marshal.
Yeah.
When Rally Safe says your start time
It's
is
just
1:15,
Yeah.
and the marshal doesn't even count you down, he's just standing back to make sure that, you know, he's there to answer questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
You know,
And then-
I can now start and finish a stage without a marshal.
Yeah. That's awesome.
How cool's that?
Yeah.
And then the
that is
Navi gets to
awesome.
do the whole
And
5, 4, 3, 2,
no
1
one can
countdown.
wriggle out. I can't have someone say, oh, we need an extra minute because, you know,
don't get
of
it.
this on the car, when really they wanted the dust to settle.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
can't do that.
you can't play those games. And if you don't start at your given time, well, it's too bad. You're starting late.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you miss that, if you're the 9th car in a row of 50 and you miss your time, I can guarantee you the 10th car is going to go on his time, so you're not going to go when he goes.
Yeah.
The 11th car is going to go on his time. You're going to the back of the queue.
Yep.
You just lost minutes.
Well,
and
we
minutes
also
are hard
have
to
a
get back.
50-point penalty for that.
Yes.
You either did not start because you missed your start, or you go down the back and you're the very last car,
and you lose time.
and you've got a 50-point penalty for missing your start time.
Yep.
And
That hurts.
yeah, you don't want to miss your start time. So
Other events could learn from that.
what we can do, and we alluded to it a little bit earlier, if we're on the creek run and someone breaks down in the middle of the creek run and I need 20 minutes to get the car safely removed, then we can, with Rally Safe,
Stop.
push all the remaining cars who haven't yet started, we can push their start times by 20 minutes.
Yep.
And we don't have to tell them because they're Rally Safe immediately.
Just rolls a different
Yeah,
time.
it just goes
so
beep
mad.
beep, and the Navi looks up and goes, oh, we've got another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We just had 20 minutes added to our start time.
Yeah, cool. Turn it off so we're not sitting here for
Shut
20
it
minutes with
down.
the car.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
can't run it
right.
sort of thing.
How much easier is that to run
Yeah,
an
great
event?
way to run an
that
event.
is a great way to run it,
So,
I think. And that's the thing as well, as much as you're trying to make it fair and be nice to everyone, people need to also remember that it is a race. If we tell you your start time, it is your start time.
You're on the clock, baby.
Yeah.
Run it.
It's a competition. These guys want to be competitive. If you want to take a lax look at it, that's on you, but you're going to take a loss in time
100%.
for it.
Yeah. So with the Rally Safe, all the competitors need to have purchased and installed a mounting kit.
Yep.
It's about $180 or something like
It's
that.
negligible.
That'll live in their car, and they'll do other events where they'll use Rally Safe.
Yeah.
And
or it burns down, you buy another one.
yeah. And at the event, and then the event will hire the Rally Safe unit.
Yeah.
And that goes in, and then I pay the Rally Safe staff to come and attend.
Yep.
If there's only about 20 cars or thereabouts, we can run it without the rally safe staff being present.
Yep.
With 40 people, we need rally safe staff to be present.
Yeah.
There's always something that's going wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Just computer
you know,
things.
there's so we need the expertise on the ground.
Yep.
And when you've got 100 cars, you sort of need 2 rally
About
safe
to
staff.
say, you're going to need a few of them
definitely.
this year.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
will. And so that's good to watch from home. And we'll be able to prompt with our live feeds and with our updates during the week. We'll be able to say, okay, you've got to be watching on this given day at this time.
Yep.
Because at home or on their mobile phones, they'll be able to see the progress of the cars going around the course.
Yeah.
And
So we'll share that info where we can through our socials.
Yeah, exactly
because
right. Yeah, we'll put
great
it
for
up.
partners at home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. Especially, yeah.
And we're going to be able to do a lot of live feeds. I'm thinking on our live feed friendly stages, we might have 7 or 8 going at any one time.
Yeah, right.
And can you imagine if we worked out how to put a Starlink antenna on the buggy?
I
we have
reckon
an
there's
inside,
room. I reckon there's
and
room.
we have an inside camera with these guys.
Yeah.
The following we'd get through
With-
the
with-
superior family network
Yeah.
of everyone wanting to watch you yelling at Mick.
I've always wanted to
And-
record our intercom
And-
discussions because
That's always good. I love that.
funny
Yeah.
things. We talk some
Yeah.
And
rubbish
then
in that car.
you'd be getting to a winch wall of some sort, and of course then we've got another feed on the side which is going at the same time of all the cars coming through, and of course along comes you guys.
Yeah.
And how cool's that?
It would be good.
And-
So I got to get in the mix here about setting something up. Then I
Yeah.
can do that.
I reckon.
I know of about.
You're the R&D guy. You'll be able to draw something up
Oh,
and
we
get
can
it
draw
on the car.
mounts. It's having the room
Yeah.
in that car. There is no room.
Mick will
for
go and buy a
anything.
Starlink tonight.
Yeah,
No,
it's
we'll do it.
no, I'm you know my son Sam, he's racing.
I was about to say, are both the boys racing or just Sam?
Just Sam.
Yep.
So Sam's racing. He's my oldest son. He's raced with me in the Outback Challenge and all that sort of stuff. It's so good to race with one of your kids. And although you got to look after them because you know you cop it when you get home.
Gotta be mindful of that.
So, but yeah, so he's racing my car with Clay Mongan. So
Okay,
he's from the Tweed area. And-
Clay's name's been around the old Outback Challenge and that for a long
so
time.
Joel Mongan. So Joel is Clay Mongan's son.
Yep.
So he's So Sam and Joel are racing in my rig.
So your rig's still going.
It's still going.
Awesome.
You know how old that is?
It'd be very.
That had Mick Dow's built that car. He put an LS in it when it was 4 years old.
Yeah, wow.
That's like
Jesus.
grabbing a Series 5 Y62
Yeah.
or a 300 Series Land Cruiser and turning it into a race car.
Gee,
Oh, would-
yeah, like
Yeah.
Wow.
Why wouldn't you?
You're probably right.
And Andy Cassar put the LS in it and worked with Mark French, and they worked on the and Mark's adapters.
Yep.
So they developed the LS1 conversion into GQ Patrol.
wow.
That's how long the
Yeah.
V8's in my car.
Been around.
Jesus,
Been around.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
and
it's
I
still
bought that car off Mick. I saw it advertised on social media, and someone advertised this race car, and it was still registered and still on the road, and it was a P plater, and he kept getting done for driving a V8 because you're not allowed to drive
Yeah,
V8s
makes
and
sense.
P plates, and I'm like, is that Dr. Bog? Because that's what it was known as at the time, and I'm like, he goes, yeah, and I'm like, right, okay, I'll be there to pick it up. Because I knew from my Pro Comp days how much money was spent on it and how much effort had gone into doing everything properly.
Yeah.
And that I liked it because it was still classic, like it was still burgundy over gold.
Yep.
Yeah.
But when I got it, it was twin shocks. This is old school.
Yeah, old school.
Very
Yeah.
old school.
Twin shock, twin conies in the front, and and it wasn't a MIDI conversion and all that sort of stuff. So.
I think I have photos of it on my phone pre-MIDI conversion. Still on the Walker Evans and Treps.
Yeah.
I think I have photos of it.
Yeah, and anyway, so we did the MIDI conversion, and Bitters did a lot of work on it, and it broke my heart when he had his accident at Cliffy because he was my mate. Well, he still is my mate.
Yeah.
But you know, when one of your mates gets hurt in one of your events, it's,
Yeah, no.
yeah, it's still bad. And but anyway, they did that. Then we put the auto in it, and that was a game changer for us.
That's a huge move.
That was big improvement. And then I blew up the motor at Ultimate previously. It was 2022, I think that was. So so I blew the motor up then, and the old stick in the radiator trick.
That's a good one. Eh? It's almost as good as the water through the air inlet, but that's a good one.
Yeah, so the old stick through the radiator. So that did it. So we put a bit of effort into an LS2, but we've still got the LS1 computer running it.
Yep,
perfect.
So
keep it GM,
and
won't fail.
And it's I mean, everyone loves the sound of a cammed 6 litre.
Yes,
that's the new black, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That is the ultimate goals.
And now it's she's on song and she's doing great.
That's awesome.
So Sam's going to be racing that, and so he's going to have a Starlink on board. They're going to be doing live feeds.
Yep.
And
so are we.
You guys and Juzzy's going to be doing live feeds. Juzzy works for me. He runs Ultimate.
Yep.
So he and Cam will be doing live feeds from their car, and I'm aware of 2 or 3 others that are going to be doing them.
They racing the Unicorn or?
No, every second day they are.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I know that they're tempted to run Juzzy's Junker.
Yep.
And they're thinking of even doing that in Super Tourer class.
Yep.
But then they're like, well, we could do some arse whipping if we take the Unicorn.
Yeah. Yep.
And they could really do some arse whipping in that.
That's quad motor, turbo LS.
We need to get on Justin every day.
It's got all the good stuff in it.
Hound him.
Winch mounted on the rear
so you're
bar,
say,
essentially.
Do you want to win Super Tourer class or do you want to win Open class?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a very cool car.
So they're both cool cars. They're both fun.
Yeah.
And they're both and Roadrunner have come on board too. They're going to be doing live feeds as well. So
awesome.
So Roadrunner, they're bringing the new car, Barry's.
Oh no! No, this is just Cam from Roadrunner with the Unicorn and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. So
I was going to get excited then if Barry's new car's coming out.
I think we should all put a bit of pressure on Barry.
Let's get on to Barry then.
Because
they're into it.
They are goddamn competitive. They have won some stuff over the year. Have they won Cliffhanger before? They have, haven't they?
I think he might have. He's certainly podiumed.
I definitely know he's podiumed. Yeah, he podiumed 2009.
Back in the Tigers 11 days, he was a podium winner, and I've got the poster at the wall, and I'm trying to. I think Cable Tie Racing beat him, and that year. But he was second or something.
Yeah. So there's a list of names that we need to send this podcast to, so
Is
they
Hoon
feel
coming as
pressured
well?
and bullied. Pardon?
Hoon's got a fresh.
Hoon
she's getting a
has
fresh
been
rebuild.
on the phone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And there's been interest. I don't think he's technically on the list yet. But there we go, folks.
Yeah.
There's some shuffling of the list of late though.
Put the pressure on Hoon.
The
There's been
OG
some
Wind
spots
Challenge
open up,
guys.
haven't there?
There has been some stop. Okay, basically we're not running a standby list. We don't need to.
Yes.
Right? I can call the shots now.
You're the boss.
Yeah.
I'm the boss. I've been doing this for 20 years.
I've been doing it. Damn it! I'm not going to do it. I won't do it. When a spot opens, we basically go to market and say who wants it.
And then is it a
first
bidding
in,
war?
best dressed.
Yep.
Oh, so first in, best dressed, no bidding war then.
No bidding war. It's just first in, best dressed, and then people don't muck around. They're like, bang,
Yep.
dum. Hey,
Here's
we've
my
got
money.
a spot, dum,
Done.
in, and that's how I want to try and make sure I get my 100 cars.
Yep.
That's a good idea,
So-
actually.
Yeah.
Look, we do know that there will be a bunch pulling out for various reasons.
Yep.
So that there will be more opportunities coming, but it'd be great to see Baz enter. Muppets entered from WA.
They just the blue, the international.
I think so,
weapon,
and he's
yep.
also supporting a couple of other younger guys.
Okay. Yep.
So, and we've got a lot of old. We got the likes of Pink Truck.
Yep.
And all those guys.
Yeah.
So we've got some big names.
They'll be going. Carl and Cam. They'll be going for the top spot.
Is Cam Navi and Carl?
Cam's naviing for Carl,
Fantastic.
and they are not going to turn up to an event and just race.
No.
It is first place or they're
Win it,
breaking the car.
win it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they will be.
So but
It's
it'd be
going to
great.
be a who's who of
It
big
is.
cars,
It is
isn't
going to
it?
be the
And
who's
names.
who. I
Yep.
think just the whole Cliffy experience for people who
Definitely.
want to come along and spectate. If you want to be rubbing shoulders with the best,
Yeah.
this is this is where the best are going to be.
Definitely.
And us.
So, and you guys.
The best and us.
Yeah, the best,
Everyone,
and
not
you
the
guys.
Not the best, apparently not.
So, but no, it's going to be really good. We're going to see the best trucks.
Yeah.
And we're going to see some really great racing.
Yeah,
And,
it is. It's
we're bringing together the best stages that we've done in the past. We're going to try and bring
Bring them
all
back.
the really good juicy stuff.
Stairways back, baby.
Stairway will be back as part of it.
I was going to say, we turn that into a bandy. We need to get a Mark Thomas and talk him to turn it into a bandy wall so you can drive it for the final time.
Yeah, right. And see who can,
Don't put that out to the universe.
Definitely. I'll be sitting on the side of it with a can of beer ready to go.
Oh.
yeah. And, there's a bunch of Ultra 4s, that sort of the buggy scene, and, but predominantly mostly winch truck.
Yeah.
And we've got, at the moment, there's pressure on me to have an Ultra 4 class, and I'm quite happy to have an Ultra 4 class if we get the numbers.
Yep.
And we can decide that later when we're closer to the event.
So we're just going to be running in open then, realistically.
Yeah, well, basically we've said that you've got your Super Tourers, which is your virtually your registered cars.
Yep.
So your Super Tourers, they're allowed to run 37s, they're allowed to have 24 volts, but they can only have one motor.
One motor.
There's some budget constraints on vehicle
That's
setup.
fair
So they
enough.
can't do engine conversions and,
Yep.
that sort of stuff. They can run coilovers if they want, but they're limited to their original suspension mounts. So they'll only be little coilovers.
I was going to say, yeah. It'd be very,
Little
very
Commodore coilover.
Yeah. So we're trying to keep it affordable, and that class is all about affordability and entry to sport.
Yep.
And they have a lot of fun, that group.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we've got basically everyone else. So we've got winch trucks, and then we do have the Ultra 4s coming.
Yep.
So we've sort of said, well, okay, look, you guys are together,
Yeah.
and then if we have enough Ultra 4s, then we will
I think
mate.
we will have scores for Ultra 4s. But we're all racing as one big family.
Yeah.
So
You won't. Some of them you won't split classes until presentation night.
So
Exactly,
I think the realization that came from the first year of the buggies or Ultra 4s being allowed there was that, we have our advantages definitely. Man, we have our disadvantages.
Oh, yeah.
Like for one, like the 777, it's only realistically wheel mount to wheel mount. That's very similar width to a GU Patrol and wheelbase. So you categorise it as being a very similar size vehicle because the cabin's so damn small and your wheels are so exposed. A Patrol can just belt its way through trees, no problems. If we catch a wheel, man, it sucks. And then the time it takes for us to get in and out, like we might make up a bit of time, being able to run quicker over some terrain, but saying that there's so many winch trucks on triples and coilovers now that realistically the differences aren't that drastic. And even weight, people think these things are light. The car ain't light. It's not light. So I think running us together is not a bad thing. It's not like, they're going to come down and win everything and we haven't got a hope. There's no way because there are winch trucks that smoke us.
You don't see it in the scores.
No,
You definitely don't.
You don't see it in the score sheet.
No.
We'll even have some Super Tourers. I dare say we might have a Super Tourer in the top 10.
Yeah. Are they,
or a top 20 at least.
You got to look at Matt Hummer when they started competing.
Yeah.
Their car, he races in Winch Challenge, but that car is single shock. It is conventional suspension links. It's just got hybrid radius arms. It's a stock 4.5 out of a GU. It is not a super fantastico race car, just as a twin motor winch, but it is not some high horsepower race rig, and he still comes third and fourth.
That proves that a lot of success at Cliffhanger doesn't come down to big horsepower, big dollars, big speed.
No.
There's a very tactful element to it, and you can approach things in a very sensible manner and come out way on top.
That's what makes it
Which
cool.
we did. There was a night stage where it was like, here's your GPS points, punch them in, go get them. And I punched them all in, and then I said to Mick, hold on a second. I zoomed out and I looked at the map. He said, where are we going? And I looked at the map and I was like, we're in a square paddock. If we go up, across the top and down. And we came out 12 minutes quicker than the next car that year.
Yeah.
And I've got that picture of the GPS with all those waypoints as a screensaver on my work computer, because every time it comes up, I grin. I'm like, that was such a good time. We almost ran into a big gum tree and a dam, but it was a great time.
I had, the year when I blew up my motor at Ultimate, we were one of the last cars to start the stage. So it was sort of an advantage because there was a bit of a form track.
a road.
But we had a lot of cars to pass. We were car 37. So
It's a lot.
got halfway through the stage, and we were on song, passed a lot of cars. Unfortunately, engine problems. We went down to limp mode. So limp mode and LS. And of course, that's the LS telling me I'm hot, stop before you kill me. Yeah, me? No, keep going.
No, that'll keep moving.
And so we're in limp mode, and we were passing people at waypoints because they were
Driving around in circles.
big horsepower, big tires, attacking things wrong, not thinking about what they were doing. They were just gung-ho, missing the waypoint, going back to get it, all this sort of stuff. Putt, 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 me blowing smoke, chug, 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 sounding like chitty, chitty, bang, bang, passing them at the waypoint and keep going.
Yeah, boy.
Didn't even slow down. We didn't have to slow down.
No,
I was only doing
like, go,
25, 20 kilometres an hour, and we actually picked up about 3 places just in limp mode.
Yeah,
And I mean, mind you, there were people smoking us because they were going full speed.
Yeah, yep.
But you'd be surprised that it's not all about the horsepower and the big tyres and all that sort of stuff.
No, I think that navigational aspect is a great divider of someone who's like, I'm here to race versus I'm here to race, but I know how to race.
I think it's a good test of how well the driver and Navi bounce off each other. I mean, I put my hand up because when Mick said, I'm going to have a go at this Cliffhanger, none of the people that he had used to that point with Ultra 4 racing were willing to have a crack at it. They're like, I'm not getting out of the car. And what hadn't been working for him long. And I was like, I'll have a crack. He's like, all right. And I thought maybe I might do a Cliffhanger and that'd be that. But we clicked in the car really well. And the outside of the car aspect, the repairing and to a point where I'm still in the car 6 years later. So that's a good thing.
That's got a lot to do with it. That click.
That click is important.
It's a respect for each other. It's confidence in each other.
Yeah.
It's your faith that he's not going to bin the car with you in it.
There's no faith in that.
No,
there is.
I would not have that faith.
But it's Mick having faith in your guidance.
Yeah.
And when you're saying go this way or go that way, he can't see what the wheels are doing, or that sort of stuff.
There's been a few. Turn here, are you sure? Mate, I've got the GPS, you just turn here.
GPS.
And it's worked out. He goes, okay.
Yeah.
And
there's the I think I can sound something, I can hear something wrong, like you said in the uni joint. And he puts faith in what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And you respect each other and trust each other enough that you actually listen to each other and you do what each other suggest.
Yeah.
And if you can sort of break through that barrier and then you're best of mates.
Yeah.
To do that.
You get along pretty well.
And
it's good times in that car.
Yeah. You don't want to be in there with someone you don't get along with.
No. No. Some people have asked me over the years to do various events with them, and I've sort of thought, no, I think half the reason I have that much fun in that car is because of the click. And there are like Tim White and Cam always click so well and mates, and they just get along. And you look at Josh Marks running with Andrew, like there are pairings that just work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you look at Ben Spratt and Dave Gregg, like they just smash it again in a super like they run a TD42 in a single shock, smoothie shock. They're dominating when
Coops
shows
and
up
Hummer.
here. Like
they're just pairs that just work. So it's a big factor.
The yin and yang.
It is the last year of Cliffhanger. 2025 is its end of. So you don't want to miss out as a spectator.
No.
Even like those competitors want to be in the Facebook groups, Cliffhanger 4x4 event on Cliffhanger.
Have your cars
Facebook.
ready, because when someone drops out, Hobbsy's going to put it out to market.
Yep.
Yeah.
Grab those spots.
Yeah. And as a spectator, where do we go to get tickets?
Well, the spectators, the best thing a spectator can do is register online.
Yeah.
And Cliffhanger 4WD event.com.au or .com works as well. When they register online, they become entitled. They get a free T-shirt when they turn up. You can turn up unannounced, and that happens a lot.
Yep.
Except that we don't know you're coming, so we haven't got a T-shirt put aside for you.
That's all right.
And and it does help us if we know people are coming, because we get a bit of a gut feel whether we're dealing with 500 or 5,000.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many toilets do you need?
Yep.
Yeah. How many? We can plan better.
Yep.
And there's no difference between a spectator and a support crew or pit crew.
Yep.
So if you want to come along and you've got 10 people who are going to turn spanners, they just enter as spectators. and jump online and register for the Spectators.
Yep.
They are refundable if they don't turn up, so we can work that out.
Yep.
You know, we're pretty reasonable. Yeah, that's the just basically
That's the way.
don't miss out,
Don't
because
sit on the fence.
Cliffhanger is a life-changing experience. It is
It
something
is.
people are going to remember for the rest of their life.
It is. It
Yeah.
really is.
And,
And this one definitely will be.
Yeah. So it means a lot to everyone. That our biggest competitor is the demon that's stopping us from going,
Yeah.
Yep.
and that's what we've got to overcome. And together, blokes get together and help
Work.
each other. We've got to overcome those
Yeah.
and make it so that we can all be there and have fun.
Carpool. Load a GU
That's
up.
it.
6 blokes, a few swags. Come down.
Come
Yep.
down, load the fridge up with beers,
Have a
come
good
hang
time.
out. That's the thing that I'm most excited about is like I've already spoken
Beers.
to, beers at Cliffhanger
Yeah.
is great. But I've already spoken to guys like Daniel Kistler and that at Victoria. Talked to the guy on Instagram
Kistler's
and that
coming up.
all the time,
Sweet.
Yeah.
but I've never met him. So I'm able to go to Cliffhanger and meet someone that I've chatted to on Instagram and that for the
Yeah.
last 4 years and meet up, have a beer with people you're not going to get to have a beer with every weekend.
Just meet
So
new people.
That's it. Meet new people. It's
Yeah.
get
Can't be
your
beat.
tickets booked. Let's all go to Cliffhanger
Yeah.
and have
Yeah.
fun. It's cliffhanger-full-drive-event.com or .com.au.
Yep.
That's where everyone can go to get their tickets for September.
Yes.
So it's coming up.
The racing dates are 21st to 26th.
Yep.
That's when we're racing. So that's Sunday through
Sunday,
to Friday.
Friday, yep.
And presentation Friday night. We're talking fireworks and all sorts of things then too.
Yep.
Like I was saying, I think the party night will be the Friday night before.
Yep.
So working backwards, that'll be the 19th.
The 19th.
The 9th to the 19th. You don't want.
we-
You sort of want to be there on Friday the 19th of September.
Yep.
Starlink will be working so we can watch the footy.
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah,
I'm looking at Windstrums.
So we can have. There'll be lots of Starlinks there.
Yeah,
there will be.
I reckon there'll be a few hundred of them there.
One in the old floor. Perfect.
And so the spectators want to be there on the Friday.
Definitely.
And
Minimum.
you're going to want to see racetrack, the test track, the scrutineering, and there'll be a party on the Friday night.
Yep.
And then
Perfect.
Saturday will be nervous day, and then Sunday we're on.
I have the nerves and butterflies now.
Yeah.
I genuinely just got
So that's
nervous.
So it's going to be 2025, September 2025, the big
one, the
Perfect.
last one.
the last
Can't
one,
wait.
the
That
last
sucks.
hurrah.
Yeah.
So
That does suck.
It
Never
does
got my
suck.
car built, which I'll probably never get my car built ever. But
You'll get there.
Yeah.
yeah,
But all we have to do, Steve, is thanks for coming up. It's obviously not a quick trip around the corner for you.
thank you for having me, guys. It was really
appreciate
good.
it.
I really
It's
appreciate
awesome.
it.
It's
And
good to hear the history that Cliffhanger has.
Yeah.
And it's great to be a part of it that we get to be as a business. We're very, very excited and upset that it is the last one.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, let's have a party and let's enjoy it and celebrate the good years.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But thanks for listening, guys. We're going to wrap it up here. Steve has a long time of travel ahead of him to get back to Melbourne, but you heard everything here. We want to get on to cliffhanger-full-drive-event.com.au, get your spectator tickets, and if you're a competitor that is umming and ahhing, keep an eye out on the events page on Facebook, as well as on the website if there is any hidden spots that come up from someone pulling out. That is it for us for this episode of the podcast. We'll catch up with you again very, very soon. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch up with you on the next episode.